refusing to become a father at the beginning. Binhai First Hospital, Obstetrics and Gynecology Department. Hey, get up, it's our turn. Li Shan, wearing a mask, pushed Ning Yuan, who was dozing beside him, with a hint of impatience between her eyebrows. Ning Yuan was woken up, looked around in a daze, and finally shuddered. Fuck. It's not a dream, I really traveled through time. The 996 social animal actually traveled to a parallel world, a dog. I'm talking to you, didn't you hear me? Ning Yuan looked at the girl next to him. She was wearing a white dress. Although she was wearing a mask, she could tell she was a beauty just by looking at her eyebrows and figure. Li Shan, the school beauty of Binhai University, had been secretly in love with her for nearly 4 years. Not long ago, when she was about to graduate, she confessed her love to her. Unexpectedly, Li Shan agreed. She was as happy as a 22-year-old dog, but just 3 days later, she was dragged to the hospital by Li Shan. It's still the Obstetrics and Gynecology department. In the dream just now, Ning Yuan integrated the memory of his previous life, and couldn't help but curl his lips secretly. Isn't this a scapegoat? It's been 2 months, the fetus is developing normally, go back and take care of yourself. After queuing for 3 hours and entering the room for 2 minutes, Ning Yuan and Li Shan left the hospital. At the door, a nanny car stopped, the door opened, and Li Shan naturally sat on it. Ning Yuan, you get in too. Ning Yuan touched the more than 100 yuan in his pocket and swallowed back the words, I'll take a taxi. It would be a waste not to get in. But after getting in the car, he found that Li Shan was kissing a feminine but very handsome boy, and didn't take him seriously at all. He also recognized who the man was at a glance. Xiao Ran, a celebrity at Binhai University, participated in a song talent show half a year ago and made it to the finals. Now he is a star, and he has been invited to perform a show at the graduation party tomorrow night. The most important thing is that his intuition tells him that Xiao Ran is the father of the child in Li Shan's belly. Ning Yuan, by now, you should understand, right? Your boyfriend is just a cover, Ran is my boyfriend. After the two of them were intimate for a while, Li Shan looked at Ning Yuan, his face full of arrogance, and he sneered in his heart. If it weren't for Ran's identity that made it inconvenient to expose his relationship, would you, a poor loser, still want to approach me? It's a joke. Ning Yuan shrugged expressionlessly, so. Li Shan and Xiao Ran were stunned. Ning Yuan's reaction was a little unexpected to them. Aren't you a dog licker? Why didn't you react at all at this time? But it doesn't matter. Li Shan said in a bossy manner, then let's talk straight. Ran is in the rising stage of his career now. My child and I can't cause him any trouble, so you continue to be my boyfriend first. Xiao Ran put his arm around her waist and pinched it, making her laugh, and added, of course, we won't let you work for nothing. I will give you 10,000 yuan a month. It's not a small amount, right? For a country bumpkin like you, earning 5,000 or 6,000 is a lot. Ning Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly, put his hands in his pockets, and said, wow, you are so generous, but is it really okay for me to be the father of the child? You wish. The father of the child. Are you worthy? Li Shan sneered unceremoniously, I just asked you to be a shield, but you are still taking advantage of me. Xiao Ran also snorted coldly, Ning Yuan, people should know themselves. If you dare to touch Li Shan's finger, I will break your legs, believe it or not. You are really a couple. Ning Yuan said with a sigh, but sorry, you can call me dad, but I can't be a father. What did you say? Xiao Ran raised his eyebrows, picked up the water bottle next to him and threw it at Ning Yuan. I gave you face, didn't I? Do you think I can let you go after you know about us? Ning Yuan tilted his head, and the water bottle hit the back of the chair. His face turned cold and he asked, what if I have to leave? Xiao Ran sneered, money is a good thing. It can turn black into white and white into black. What crime do you think I can charge you with 800,000 yuan and the operation of the company? How about extortion? Ning Yuan was silent for 2 seconds, and suddenly looked at Li Shan, smiling and saying, so you asked me for my bank card number the day before yesterday for this. Li Shan shook her hair and said coldly, it's good to understand. Ran can transfer hundreds of thousands to you at any time. When the time comes, call the police and say you are extorting money, and you can just wait to go to jail. Xiao Ran stretched out his hand and rolled Li Shan's hair, saying, do you understand now? You only have 2 choices in front of you. One is to agree and get 10,000 yuan every month. The other is to wait to be arrested. You choose. Ding. System binding, God-level choice trigger. 1. Agree to Xiao Ran's request, reward, system unbinding. 2. Request for additional money, reward, lifespan 50 years. 3. Fight back against Xiao Ran, reward, Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Is this the golden finger after crossing? Ning Yuan's heart skipped a beat, and he almost showed his joy, but he finally suppressed it. The reward is clearly stated. Is there any need to consider this? Even a fool would know to choose 3. I'm asking you a question, are you deaf? Xiao Ran urged impatiently. Ning Yuan came back to his senses, with a smile that made the two of them a little unfamiliar. I think there is a third option. You kneel down and admit your mistakes immediately, and pay 100,000 or 80,000 for mental damages, and I will pretend that this never happened. As soon as these words came out, the car instantly became quiet. A few seconds later, Xiao Ran and Lishan laughed mockingly, and even the driver and agent in front couldn't help but sneer. Ning Yuan, are you mentally retarded? At this time, you still. Before Xiao Ran finished speaking, he saw a mineral water bottle rapidly enlarged, which was the one he had hit Ning Yuan before. Bang! The mineral water bottle hit his head. The damage was not high, but it was extremely insulting. Ding! Successful selection, reward, Rolls-Royce Cullinan, issued. Ning Yuan's pocket was slightly heavy, and a car key appeared. You fucking. Xiao Ran blinked, and then became furious. Just at this time, Ning Yuan's hand came out of his pocket, holding a mobile phone. Now mobile phones are really convenient, you can record with 3 taps. Xiao Ran's words stopped abruptly, and Lishan was also stunned. It was the agent in front who reacted first. Boy, you are secretly recording, it can't be used as evidence. Ning Yuan snorted, it can't be used as evidence in court, but it's different for entertainment reporters. If I remember correctly, there is a person named Lu Shu who debuted in the same talent show as Xiao Ran, right? Just 2 days ago, I heard that you were competing for the second male role in a costume drama. As soon as these words came out, the agent immediately tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Are you threatening us? You? Har har. Ning Yuan looked at Xiao Ran, smiled coldly and spread his hands. Are you worthy of me threatening you? The atmosphere solidified again. Xiao Ran and Lishan, who had been looking down on them before, were a little at a loss and could only hope in the agent. After a few seconds, the agent asked in a deep voice, what do you want? I want you to stop the car. Xiao Ran was hesitant, the agent was panicked, and Lishan was so angry that she clenched her palms. But in the end, the car still stopped on the side of the road. Ning Yuan smiled faintly and got out of the car directly. He did not leave immediately, but walked around the car and finally stopped in front of Xiao Ran's car window. Shaking the car key in his hand, Ning Yuan knocked on the car window and sneered, I forgot to tell you, I really don't want to sit in a broken car like yours. Take care of yourself, young man, if you mess with me again in the future, I will not show mercy. As soon as he finished speaking, he pressed the car key in his hand. A Rolls-Royce Cullinan equipped with unmanned driving technology came speeding from a distance and stopped in front of Ning Yuan. Cullinan, Cullinan. Lishan, who has been worshipping money for many years, recognized the car parked in front of Ning Yuan at a glance. At this moment, she was shocked. She couldn't figure out how a waste like Ning Yuan could own such an expensive car. Ning Yuan, where did you rent this car from? Lishan looked at Ning Yuan with an extremely unwilling expression on her face. But Ning Yuan smiled coldly, as if he didn't hear anything, and got into the car directly. Before Xiao Ran could come to his senses, the car had already sped away. After a long while, Xiao Ran looked at the car going away, and then he stuck his head out. Ning Yuan, you wait, this matter is not over. Don't show off in front of me with the rented car. After the graduation party is over, I will make you kneel down. Ding! God-level choice triggered. 1. Make peace with Xiao Ran, reward, 1,000 cash. 2. Pack up and leave Binhai immediately, reward, 10,000 cash. 3. Make Xiao Ran lose his reputation, reward, top-floor duplex mansion in Building A of Yuan. Chapter 2, Where did you rent that car from? Looking at the 3 choices before him, Ning Yuan smiled faintly. As always, the third choice was the obvious one, anyone with half a brain would choose it. Xiao Ran, that guy, relied on his wealth to bully others, and Ning Yuan's previous self had also been one of his victims. In the past, Ning Yuan would have chosen to swallow his anger and make peace with Xiao Ran. But now, with his reincarnation and the terrifying system backing him up, he was certainly going to choose the option that was most beneficial to him. Thinking this, Ning Yuan took out his phone and dialed Li Shen's number. "Hello, Li Shen? I left in a hurry just now, and there's something I forgot to tell you." On Xiao Ran's car, Li Shen looked confused, holding her phone and glancing at Xiao Ran. She didn't understand why Ning Yuan was calling her back. Under Xiao Ran's signal, she asked, "Ning Yuan, I warn you, you can't beat my man, and don't even think about threatening me. Don't think I didn't notice that Cullinan is a rental. That's right." Xiao Ran snatched the phone from her and, gritting his teeth, cursed, "You poor bastard, you probably spent a lot renting that car. But no worries. If you kneel and hand over the recording at the graduation party, I don't mind giving you a few thousand to spend." "You idiot!" Ning Yuan directly retorted, then hung up. He had initially planned to warn Xiao Ran that he spotted a paparazzi hiding in the bushes as he got out of the car. But now, this idiot was so full of himself, he didn't feel like warning him anymore. Soon, he spread the recording around. The idea that Xiao Ran would make him kneel and offer the recording willingly was pure fantasy. Even if it was for the sake of avenging his past self, he wouldn't let Xiao Ran off. What's more, there was a luxury duplex waiting for him. On the wide city streets, the Cullinan sped along, drawing envious stares from everyone. "Damn! That double R logo, is that a Rolls-Royce? That's an expensive car. Bro, you clearly don't know much about cars. That's a new model from Rolls-Royce the Cullinan. This car costs at least 6.8 million. Har har, you're the one who doesn't know. The price you're talking about is just the base price. With the model and luxury car tax, it's at least 10 million. And look at that crystal logo on the front, it's the same as Principal Wang's car. Damn, such an expensive car, why not just buy a house instead? What do you know? If you can afford this car, you can definitely afford a house. People who drive this car must have some serious status." When the car arrived near the university, Ning Yuan decided to get out. He still had to attend school and didn't want to draw too much attention after all. He didn't want to alienate his good friends. Holy shit! That's a Cullinan. When did our school get cars like that? A group of students gawped, pulling out their phones to take pictures. Wait, the person next to the car looks pretty handsome, kinda familiar. I can't believe it. Among the crowd, Zhao Dazhuang, a tall and muscular guy, suddenly froze. What had shocked him wasn't the luxury car, but the person standing next to it. No way, is it just me, or does this guy look like old Ning? Zhao Dazhuang nudged Lin Shen, who had brown-dyed Japanese-style long hair and looked like a retro handsome guy. Am I seeing things? Lin Shen, following Zhao Dazhuang's pointed finger, looked over and froze. He rubbed his eyes and responded, I think I'm seeing the same thing. This guy really does look like that little bastard. This can't be right. The two exchanged a glance and muttered in unison. Of course, they both knew Ning Yuan's background better than anyone. But despite their confusion, Lin Shen quietly took out his phone and opened the camera. He zoomed in, and as Ning Yuan's face became clearer, both their expressions changed. It wasn't just a resemblance, it was Ning Yuan. Meanwhile, Ning Yuan, who had just gotten out of the car, had no idea he had become the center of attention. With his hands in his pockets, he walked while thinking, not paying attention to the people around him. A few days ago, he saw in the news that a single room of about 10 square meters in Yunji Yuan was renting for 20,000 a month. Right now, his mind was focused on how to acquire that luxury apartment. He wasn't thinking about the curious gazes of the people around him. To get that apartment in Yunji Yuan, he needed to ruin Xiao Ran's reputation. This was a delicate job. If he tried to do it alone, he definitely wouldn't be able to outplay Xiao Ran. This kind of thing can't be done alone. Ning Yuan nodded and analyzed, this guy has a management company backing him. With Xiao Ran's current popularity, calling him a cash cow wouldn't be an exaggeration. Small scandals wouldn't be enough to make his company give him up. Unless. Ning Yuan stopped, clicking his tongue, then smiled with a wicked grin. Unless the situation is big enough that his management company can't handle it. Big enough that the cost of protecting Xia Ran is far greater than the cost of just letting him go. In fact, Ning Yuan was right. Based on past cases of celebrities being abandoned by their agencies, the pattern was clear. Either the artist ruined themselves and became too toxic, or they were no longer profitable and offended the company, leading to being shelved. At this point, Ning Yuan felt frustrated. Xia Ran's popularity is only going up, and his economic value is high. Unless he goes into a death feud with his agency, there's no way they give him up. The key is that this idiot won't do that. Ning Yuan shook his head. How could he be stupid enough to have a falling out with his agency? Although, the recording I have should be a significant blow when it gets out. He sighed, took out his phone, and glanced at it. But if I just release it directly, it might be hard to deal with later. As long as the agency handles the PR well, clearing his name won't be that difficult. And that woman, Lishan, can even get an abortion done. Ning Yuan was still pondering when suddenly, someone patted him on the shoulder. Damn. Old Ning. Where did you rent that car from? Hearing the familiar voice, Ning Yuan had to snap out of his thoughts. He turned around and saw Zhao Dazhuang and Linshan, both grinning at him. In college, the dorms were usually shared by 4 people. Their dorm was no different, except that the other guy who wasn't with them had clearly always been the odd one out. He didn't even wait for the graduation party, got his graduation certificate early, and probably already inherited his family business, becoming a coal baron. So now, their dorm was just left with the 3 of them. Chapter 3, You want me, a grown man, to go on stage and beg for sympathy? Not a chance. Old Ning, I remember you went out with your goddess. Zhao Dazhuang nudged Ning Yuan and grinned. So what, you drove back in a luxury car? Come on, tell us. Could it be that Lishan is hiding it so well that we didn't realize she's actually a rich woman? On the other side, Linshan put his hand on Ning Yuan's shoulder and looked at him with disdain. Hey! You, Ning Yuan, don't tell me you lost your ambition and went to. Gar gar gar. Ning Yuan made a face of disgust, first pushing Zhao Dazhuang away, then shoving Linshan off. He then spoke seriously, get lost. Do you think I'm that kind of person? Then what's up with the luxury car? Don't tell me you bought it. Zhao Dazhuang laughed. For 4 years in university, Ning Yuan had lived off scholarships. There was no way he could afford a luxury car. Well, at this point, I can't keep hiding it. Ning Yuan fell silent for a moment, suddenly adopting a solemn tone. I wanted to live as an ordinary person and interact with you guys like normal, but instead, you guys treated me differently. I can't pretend anymore. I'm a billionaire, I confess. You bastard. Stop messing around. Zhao Dazhuang pushed Ning Yuan again. Linshan also chuckled, cursing, you're quoting movie lines to mess with us. You're a billionaire? Well, I'm the world's richest man. Believe it or not, Ning Yuan shrugged, not planning to explain any further. Oh, old Ning, your reaction doesn't seem fake at all. Zhao Dazhuang stared at him, half in disbelief. Could that car really be yours? Would I lie to you too? Ning Yuan pulled a face, then shook his head. No way, it's real. Linshan was shocked, then let out a bitter laugh. I thought it was just a rental. Hey? That doesn't make sense. Zhao Dazhuang scratched his head, as if he suddenly thought of something. Old Ning, you say you're driving such an expensive car, then why the long face when we saw you from afar just now? Don't ask. Going out is exhausting too, I was just tired, Linshan said, giving Ning Yuan an understanding look. Ning Yuan rolled his eyes. Influenced by his memories, he had no sense of estrangement from these two. Do you think I'm like you? Go out for one night and come back with wobbly legs. Zhao Dazhuang nodded seriously, exactly, old Lin, you really need to take care of your kidneys. Get lost. My kidneys are fine. Linshan retorted angrily, then quickly changed the subject. But seriously, why were you so down earlier? Ning Yuan thought for a moment. As the saying goes, 3 heads are better than 1, and he decided to share what had happened earlier in the morning. However, he conveniently left out any mention of the system. As for the car, he made up a story about it being a gift from a powerful figure, promising a luxury mansion as long as he could ruin Xia Ran's reputation. Damn. Old Ning, is that even real? Zhao Dazhuang's jaw dropped, staring at Ning Yuan in disbelief. Lin, however, rolled his eyes at him and cursed, Dazhuang. What are you thinking? That's just what old Ning deserves. Xiao Ran's a scumbag, and this is karma. As for Lishan, one day, she'll regret giving up on old Ning. What a stupid decision. Old Ning, let me know if you need me to help you get revenge, Linshan asked earnestly, looking at Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan could clearly tell what Linshan was thinking. Linshan was the most handsome guy in their university, but also a certified scumbag. He had relationships with almost every pretty girl from every department. Throughout college, the number of beautiful women Linshan had flirted with could fill a roster. However, despite being a scumbag, he was fiercely loyal to his friends. Now, with Linshan asking like that, it was clear he wanted to flirt with Lishan, show off to Xiao Ran, and help Ning Yuan get back at him. Just then, Zhao Dazhuang glanced eastward, suddenly walking over with big steps. What are you doing? Isn't he that Xiao Ran? I'm going to go and take his kidney. He pointed to the side, and Ning Yuan and Linshan looked over. Sure enough, they saw Xiao Ran's chauffeur-driven car. Calm down. If you take his kidney, you'll be living the rest of your life holding a steamed bun with no oil in your dishes. Ning Yuan hurriedly stopped him, trying to calm him down. Why call him an idiot? Because since the beginning of the semester, Zhao Dazhuang had been jumping between receiving disciplinary actions and having them revoked. With graduation coming up, he couldn't afford to stir up trouble now. So what should we do? Zhao Dazhuang grumbled after being stopped. Forget it, I'll handle this myself. Ning Yuan waved his hand, still feeling that the revenge was something he needed to take care of personally. What are you all doing? Looking so miserable. A pleasant voice suddenly rang out. Their voice sounded somewhat familiar. The three of them slowly turned around and saw Han Xiaoqiao in sportswear, blowing a bubble with her gum and smiling cheerfully at them. Even in loose athletic wear, her perfect body shape couldn't be concealed. Xiaoqiao, what are you doing here? Zhao Dazhuang scratched his head, a little embarrassed as he stepped forward and explained, looking so down. It's all because of old Ning. He thought he finally got the girl of his dreams, but it turns out she was just using him, making him take on the role of an unwilling father. You've become so smooth with your words, Ning Yuan cursed. Zhao Dazhuang grinned. A sudden stroke of insight. Yeah, a stroke of insight, my foot. Just as Ning Yuan was about to retort, Han Xiaoqiao's south face suddenly came close. Her big, sparkling eyes glinted as she asked, so, you were dumped? No, I swear, he was humiliated and threatened. Ning Yuan kicked Zhao Dazhuang in the leg and said, shut up. Han Xiaoqiao looked even more curious. How was he humiliated and threatened? Ning Yuan immediately covered Zhao Dazhuang's mouth, but Linshan spoke up, either he gets forced into fatherhood and has to take on a slave role for $1,000 a month, or his account gets a few $100,000 wiped out and he is sued for extortion. Good thing he recorded it, otherwise we'd all be uncles and aunts now. Ning Yuan twitched his mouth. Damn you both. Zhao Dazhuang and Linshan both ignored him, saying in unison, now we want to take revenge, but we can't win against Xiao Ran. That guy's flying high now. Got it. Han Xiaoqiao nodded knowingly. She chewed her gum and glanced at Ning Yuan, who was staring at the sky in silence. With a pop, her bubble burst, and she suddenly said, this is easy, I have a plan. The three of them perked up immediately. What is the plan? Xiao Ran's going to perform at the evening gala, right? Ning Yuan, you should go up too and perform a sad song, cry a little, and I'll record it and post it online. Ho! Ho, what ho? Netizens love to sympathize with the weak. Sing a sad song, cry if you can, and with that recording, you'll be on trending in no time. Zhao Dazhuang and Linshan stared at her in surprise. How are you so sure? Han Xiaoqiao smirked, my cousin, Lu Shu, from her company, is competing with Xiao Ran for resources. I'll talk to her, and we'll make sure Xiao Ran's scandals go viral. Zhao Dazhuang and Linshan finally understood, giving her a thumbs up. Turns out, women really are the most ruthless. Han Xiaoqiao gave them both a death glare, then looked at Ning Yuan, raising her chin. So, what do you think? You want me, a grown man, to go on stage and beg for sympathy? No way. Chapter 4 I'll create an original. I love you, but you treat me like trash, throw me away and run into someone else's arms. In the music classroom, Ning Yuan was singing a song that was popular online, and Han Xiaoqiao was playing the piano accompaniment beside him. Ning Yuan's singing skills are not professional, but he has a good voice and his singing is quite nice. Between a mansion and self-esteem, Ning Yuan chose the former. Of course, he agreed to play the victim because he had no choice. If he dares not to agree, Han Xiaoqiao will use a combination of taekwondo punches to beat him until he agrees. Why did you stop? No, this word is too disgusting. The person who wrote it must be stupid. After singing a few lines, Ning Yuan couldn't continue. So what do you rap about? Han Xiaoqiao stopped playing the accompaniment and asked unhappily. I'll look for it. Ning Yuan took out his mobile phone, logged into Penguin Music, and prepared to find a more suitable one. After flipping through the pages for a while, his eyes suddenly widened. Zhang Xinzhe, no. Zhang Yu, no. Not only the old singers, but even the familiar new singers such as Mao Buyi, Xue Jiqian and others are missing. Ning Yuan finally realized that he had a whole world to copy. What are you staring at? Seeing Ning Yuan in a daze, Han Xiaoqiao raised her hand and slapped him on the shoulder. Ning Yuan was shocked. Ning Yuan turned around and met Han Xiaoqiao's eyes. The distance between them was almost touching. The fragrance coming from Han Xiaoqiao also brought him back to his senses. As soon as she stepped back, Han Xiaoqiao asked in a gloomy voice, "Does it look good?" Good. Ning Yuan paused, raised his head, and saw Han Xiaoqiao narrowing her eyes and looking at him with a smile through gritted teeth. But this smile made him scared no matter how he looked at it. Oh, let me explain. Go to hell, you bastard. Immediately afterwards, Ning Yuan's wailing could be heard in the music classroom. On the surface, Han Xiaoqiao looks like a petite loli, but in fact, this girl is a black belt master in taekwondo. How could Ning Yuan withstand such a beating? He just apologized and begged for mercy. Fortunately, Han Xiaoqiao did not kill her and controlled the strength of her attack. On the side, Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen hugged each other's shoulders and smiled like old fathers. Actually, it's not bad that Lao Nin got kicked out. That makes sense. Another scream. Ning Yuan was really scared. He lay on the ground, patting the ground with his hands, turned his head weakly, and begged for mercy. Dad. Dad. Xiaoqiao, I was wrong, please stop hitting me, or something bad will happen. Har. I'll let you go this time. Han Xiaoqiao clapped her hands and slowly got off Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan got up from the ground, straightened his clothes, and coughed lightly. Ahem, let's talk business first. I've decided to come up with an original idea. After these words were spoken, the three people in the classroom were stunned. Original? Are you sure? Lao Ning, do you want to take revenge on them or punish yourself? If you sing an original song, you'll be the one who gets ruined, right? The three of them talked at the same time, and Ning Yuan had 3 black lines on his forehead. You guys underestimate me too much, don't you? Zhao Dazhuan shook his head and said in a harmless voice, we are afraid that you will overestimate yourself. Ning Yuan almost choked to death. He pointed at the 2 people and Zhao Dazhuan who were beside him and said, okay, you don't believe it, right? Then I'll show you my skills. If it sounds good, you can arrange for me to go clubbing after the party. Do you dare? What if you don't sing well? Anyway, I only have less than 200 yuan in my pocket, so I'll give it to you. Cut. After teasing each other for a while, the 3 of them finally became obedient spectators, staring at Ning Yuan picking up his guitar. One of the reasons why the 4 of them are so close is that they once formed a band together. Han Xiaoqiao can play the piano and electronic organ, Zhao Dazhuan has broken 2 drum sets, and Lin Shen can play the guitar and bass. Ning Yuan is the lead singer and has also learned guitar. But when Ning Yuan's grandparents passed away during his sophomore year, he seemed like a different person. He never sang again, let alone touched the guitar. At this point, the 4-member band existed in name only. Seeing Ning Yuan pick up the guitar again, Han Xiaoqiao and the others felt a little emotional. At this moment, Ning Yuan began his performance. When the song started, Han Xiaoqiao and the others' eyes gradually widened, and they could hardly believe their ears. At the end of the segment, the 3 of them were stunned for a long time before they came to their senses, and then they rushed to Ning Yuan one after another. You wrote this. Oh my God, is God showing his power? Plagiarism is against the law. Ning Yuan laughed, stroked his hair and said, what else? Has anyone heard of it? The three of them shook their heads. That's fine, then. Let's talk about it. Just by taking out this song and adding the recording, can we push Xiao Ran to the top of the trending searches? Han Xiao immediately patted her chest and said, "Don't worry, as long as you don't let me down, he will definitely be on the hot search list." Okay. I trust you to do the job, so let's quickly get the accompaniment done. No problem. The four of them burst into great enthusiasm and stayed in the music classroom for a day and a half. The next day, evening. In the auditorium of Binhai University, graduating seniors and some younger students filled all the seats, with some even standing in the aisles. Generally speaking, the scale of this kind of graduation party is not small. After all, I have already received my diplomas and I have exposed my thighs. Can you still take back my diplomas? The classmates sat there excitedly waiting for the performance to begin, while backstage, Han Xiao chewed bubble gum and greeted the schoolmate who came to host the show. Change my program and replace it with Ning Yuan singing his original songs. The schoolgirl blinked, who was Ning Yuan. A hint of tenderness flashed across Han Xiao's eyes, then disappeared. She raised her chin to Ning Yuan, who was drinking white wine to boost his courage and avoid stage fright. An unlucky senior who almost became a father wants to sing a song for his ex-girlfriend. The schoolgirl took a look and thought to herself, "He's so handsome," and then showed a curious gossiping expression, but since Han Xiao didn't say anything, she could only give up. Just when she was changing the program list, Xiao Ran's agent Fang Qiong came to inquire about the program order and saw the smudged and modified program list at a glance. Ning Yuan. Is that the Ning Yuan with peach blossom eyes and a bit handsome? The schoolgirl recalled. Ning Yuan does have a pair of peach blossom eyes. They look like they have been dripped with eye drops, bright and moist, shaped like peach blossoms, and his eyes seem to be drunk. People with this type of eyes are very popular with women when they smile, such as Zhang Guorong and Chen Guanxi. Of course, the schoolgirl couldn't possibly know these two people, but Ning Yuan's eyes did leave a deep impression on her, so she nodded, "Yes. What can I do for you?" Fang Qiong couldn't help but sneer. "Do you still want to perform? Do you still dare to claim that it is original? Okay, I didn't have the chance to teach you a lesson yesterday, but this time you brought it upon yourself." Chapter 5 Multiple Children. Put Ning Yuan's show after Xiao Ran's show. R. The schoolgirl was a little puzzled, but. No buts. Xiao Ran also has an original show to perform, so it's appropriate to put them together. Then let me ask for your advice. No need to ask, I will tell your teacher, just do it. In the end, the schoolgirl had no choice but to agree. Fang Qiong nodded in satisfaction and left. When he returned to the backstage, he told Xiao Ran and Li Shen, who was keeping a distance from him, about it. Both of them showed a hint of surprise. But then he sneered. "Brother Fang, you are so bad." Li Shen covered his mouth and laughed with glee. Fang Qiong laughed, "He asked for it." "That's right. Since he wants to humiliate himself, I will help him. I will embarrass him a little first, and then I will settle the score with him," Xiao Ran said with a sneer. Just then, cheering music came from the stage. The graduation party has begun. The graduation party arrived as scheduled, and the opening was a blast. The senior school sisters let themselves go, wearing tube tops and shorts, and danced a sexy dance in a state of confusion as the leaders felt they didn't know whether to watch or not, but also wanted to watch. This caused the classmates to howl in disbelief. After that, crosstalk, sketches, singing, dancing and acrobatics took place one after another, and the performances were very impressive. Before they knew it, the party was coming to an end, but Han Xiao, Da Zhuang and Lin Shen in the audience couldn't help but frown. Why hasn't Lao Ning come on stage yet? Isn't it his turn after the street dance? Han Xiao shook her head, "I don't know, I'll go backstage and take a look, you guys keep an eye on the camera." After saying that, she headed backstage. When he reached a corner, he took a step forward and immediately retracted it, leaning his back against the wall with his ears pricked up. "Ning Yuan, I gave you a chance, but you didn't want it, so don't blame me." Xiao Ran was wearing a handsome tuxedo with some sequins on it, and his newly done hairstyle was still very stylish, but the expression on his face made him look like he deserved a beating. In contrast, Ning Yuan was just wearing a set of sportswear that he had washed over and over again. But he didn't care and said calmly, "Oh, then don't blame me." Xiao Ran was stunned for a moment, then laughed sarcastically, "I blame you? You deserve it. Don't think I don't know that you spent all your savings on that car. Har, what kind of savings can you have? I'm afraid you didn't borrow some kind of loan, right? What qualifications do you have to compete with me? There's no comparison. After all, you're a father. Ning Yuan's half-smiley words instantly broke Xiao Ran's defense, and he picked up the microphone and wanted to smash it. Just then, the announcement sounded on the stage. The next person to appear is probably familiar to everyone. He may be the most talked about person in our school this year. Do you know who he is? Xiao Ran. Yes, it's Xiao Ran. Now let's invite him to perform an original song for us called Give Me a Girlfriend. As soon as the host finished speaking, the cheers and screams of Kazuma's fans who came to join in the fun almost overturned the auditorium. Xiao Ran, I love you. I am the girlfriend that Yulao gave you. Xiao Ran is the most handsome. Ran fans will always be here. Hearing the deafening cheers, Xiao Ran in the backstage glanced at Ning Yuan with a mocking smile on his lips. Did you hear that? You're not even worthy of carrying my shoes. After saying this, he came on stage amid cheers that rose an octave and greeted the audience under the spotlight. Dear classmates, I miss you so much. Hearing this, Ning Yuan almost laughed out loud. Why are you laughing? Ning Yuan turned his head and saw Li Shan looking at him with a cold face. Nothing, I just think you're pretty sad. I'm sad. Li Shan sneered, is it not sad to be with you instead of someone better? Ning Yuan shook his fingers. The singing started outside. He had no choice but to shout, you have the right to choose your own life. But, if you want to drag me down with you, then I have to say something. Did you hear the cheers? How many crazy fans do you think Xiao Ran would have if he just beckoned his finger to get in his bed? If there was someone young and rich, would he choose you, who is parasitic on him, or someone who can help him? Li Shan's expression suddenly changed. However, Ning Yuan had not finished speaking. Let's talk about yourself. After giving birth to the child, plus taking care of the child, do you think your figure will be out of shape and your skin will be loose? Will Xiao Ran choose a more delicate one with a better figure and skin, or you? Shut up. Xiao Ran is not that kind of person. Li Shan finally couldn't help but shouted angrily, with a look of superiority but a hint of shrewdness. Obviously, she also knew that what Ning Yuan said was not impossible. Ning Yuan laughed in his heart, little bitch, are you panicking? Weren't you quite arrogant when you threatened me? In this case. Okay, but before I shut up, let me remind you one last time. If you expose your affair with Xiao Ran at this time, do you think he will admit it frankly, or will he refuse to recognize you and your child and draw a clear line between you and him? Think about it yourself. He is singing, Give Me, now. I don't want to hear you. You're talking nonsense. Li Shan was so angry that he yelled and suddenly ran away. When Han Xiaoqiao heard that there was no more noise, she carefully leaned her head out and saw Ning Yuan making a face at Li Shan's back and gesticulating with joy, and the word cocky was almost written on his face. This guy is really bad. She raised the corners of her mouth in anger and amusement, and her smile became wider and wider. Finally, she hummed a little tune, skipped out of the backstage and returned to the audience. What's wrong with Lao Ning? Da Zhuang and Lin Shan asked anxiously. Han Xiaoqiao smiled and said, it's okay. I'll be on stage soon. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Ran's song on the stage came to an end. Cheers rang out again, but this time only fans were cheering. The other students who had been there to join in the fun now had strange looks on their faces. This song is a bit silly. Isn't it awkward for him to sing it? I feel the same way. What's the point of me being so lonely and lacking some warmth? Is this the level of his original work? I got goosebumps just listening to that. Sure, keep your voice down, his fans are still here. At this time, Xiao Ran posed and the light shining on him gradually dimmed. The lights went out for 2 seconds and then came back on amid the cheers of fans. Xiao Ran glanced at the backstage, and then said into the microphone, I heard that the next performer also has an original song, and he said it is better than mine. Although I didn't know he had this ability, I will still wait and see. I also hope that everyone can give him some encouragement and don't embarrass him too much. Then please welcome Ning Yuan. The classmates looked even more strange. Wasn't the intention of this slander too obvious? Did the other person offend you? But Xiao Ran's fans don't care about all this. Do you dare to say that your original song is better than our Xiao Ran's? Isn't this asking for trouble? Amidst the boos and sparse applause, Ning Yuan came on stage. Looking around, the audience was crowded with heads, and 2,000 pairs of eyes were staring at him. It's okay. It's just singing in front of 2,000 people. What's there to be afraid of? I'm drunk. Under the influence of alcohol, Ning Yuan's eyes became even more watery. As he introduced himself with a smile, many girls' eyes lit up immediately. I feel so good when I smile. Hello everyone, my name is Ning Yuan. Maybe some of you know me and know that I have liked a girl for 4 years. Just last week, I confessed my love to her and she agreed. There was a sudden burst of cheers from the audience. But I would rather she hadn't agreed, so that we could graduate and go our separate ways. The cheering and booing stopped abruptly, and the students looked at each other in confusion. Why did it sound like there was something going on? At this time, Ning Yuan suddenly said something that came to his mind. If life could only be like the first time we met, why would the autumn wind make the fan sad? My fellow students, don't express your feelings unless necessary, because you don't know whether you have multiple girlfriends or multiple children. Chapter 6 is also original, the difference is too big. All the students present were stunned, even the teachers and leaders who were watching the fun widened their eyes. If life could always be like our first encounter, why would the autumn wind paint the fan with sorrow? What a wonderful sentence. It's brilliantly written, beautiful and sad, and most importantly, I've never heard of it before. Why didn't I notice before that there is such a talented student in this class? In the audience, countless people were struck instantly. Now, they are not at the age where all their worries and sorrows can be solved by just saying, go get a foot massage. They are in their early 20s, an age when they are pretentious and sentimental, and they feel that everything is talking about themselves. Ning Yuan's words were immediately remembered by many people, and many girls looked at him with shining eyes. This guy. Han Xiaoqiao looked at the girls around her and suddenly became angry. Tell me this. It would be a waste of talent to tell it to Lishan. At this moment, Zhao Dazhuan also had an epiphany. Alas, Ning Yuan is so pitiful. He had been secretly in love with that girl for 4 years. He finally mustered up the courage to confess his love, but ended up becoming a father. He was also threatened by the girl he liked and the father of the child. How sad and lamentable. The students around him listened attentively. Is there such a thing? In an instant, sympathy, empathy and anger surged in my heart. Sympathy and empathy were reserved for Ning Yuan, while anger naturally belonged to Lishan and Xiao Ran. It's so heartbreaking. All my love ended up with such a result. Some girls couldn't help but look at Ning Yuan on the stage with heartache. Who is that girl? This is too much. She actually did such a thing to Ning Yuan. She is blind. Giving up Ning Yuan is her biggest loss. Which dormitory is Ning Yuan from? He doesn't have a girlfriend now, right? Hearing the whispers around her, Han Xiaoqiao suddenly increased the speed of chewing bubble gum. How could this happen? Wasn't the effect too good? Why did these girls want to be Ning Yuan's girlfriend? You guys are too unrestrained. In the backstage, Xiao Ran and Fang Qiang, who were waiting to see the joke, were stunned, and a bad premonition emerged in their hearts. Oh no, this kid is going to stab me. Next to them, Lishan looked a little dazed. If life could always be like our first encounter, why would the autumn wind bring sorrow to the painted fan? She suddenly remembered the scene when she first met Ning Yuan. At that time, he was stunned when he saw her, and then he smiled foolishly and helped carry the luggage. Just as she was thinking about this, Ning Yuan spoke. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Next, I'll sing a song called Arrogant for everyone. I hope you like it. Xiao Ran and Fang Qiang's mouth twitched. You've already said everything, what else is there to say? At this time, the prelude of music sounded. Ning Yuan burped and then picked up the microphone. Too many, too heavy, too cruel words. Your excuse for not getting entangled is too fake. I think you don't need to talk so much. Whether it is an angel or a devil, there is no absolute. Your every word is like a scar on my heart. How absurd it is that my every move changes with you. I let you play with me as you please without ever thinking about it. How arrogant are you? My heart beats for you and my pulse goes wild for you. You said I was really redundant and I might as well leave and wonder. It's all my fault for not healing my wounds. Ning Yuan was born with excellent vocal conditions. If he could afford the tuition, he would probably have gone to music college. Although he had no professional training, he was blessed by God and he sang with ease, from the low voice at the beginning to the sudden high pitch during the chorus. The lyrics of the chorus instantly broke the hearts of the students. I don't know how many people suddenly felt heartbroken, and felt a tightness in their chest and a soreness in their noses and eyes. Some girls even shed tears and looked at Ning Yuan with more and more heartache. One must have been hurt so much to come up with the words, "My heart beats for you and my pulse goes crazy for you, but you say I'm redundant and you might as well leave and wander around." Ciao ciao, someone is crying now, this should be able to become a trending topic, right? Zhao Dazhuang looked around. As the chorus sung by Ning Yuan sounded again, more and more people shed tears. The effect was absolutely amazing. But after he asked, he didn't hear any answer. When he was about to ask again, Lin Shen suddenly touched him and shook his head secretly. Zhao Dazhuang blinked and looked at Han Xiaoqiao carefully. Only then did I realize that she was just like the other girls, with tears in her eyes, looking at Ning Yuan on the stage with heartache. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen looked at each other, nodded to each other, and the glow of old fathers appeared on their faces. At this time, the song ended, and the lingering sound remained. After a long silence in the auditorium, thunderous applause suddenly broke out. Ning Yuan, I love you. It sounds good. It sounds really good. One more. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that the reaction was so enthusiastic, several times stronger than when Xiao Ran finished singing. Even Xiao Ran's fans were infected by the atmosphere and wiped their tears while giving sincere applause. Backstage, Xiao Ran and Fang Qiang were both shocked, their faces filled with disbelief. How could this happen? How could he? Fang Qiang swallowed the rest of his words. How could he sing so well and compose such excellent lyrics? This song can definitely hit the charts. The muscles on Xiao Ran's face twitched slightly. Although they were both original works, one could tell from the audience's reactions that the difference was huge. Thinking of what he said before he went on stage, he suddenly felt like a clown. It was not him who was waiting to laugh at him, but Ning Yuan. Beside him, Li Shen also fell into a daze. Thinking of the lyrics, her heart couldn't help but palpitate. Am I so important to him? A thought suddenly came to my mind, and from the phrase, "If only life could be as it was when we first met," and this song, it can be seen that Ning Yuan's talent far exceeded my expectations. With a little guidance, he may become a star. A star with real talent has a better future than a star like Xiao Ran who relies on his looks and company packaging. If I were to be with him, I would probably get more than if I were to be with Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran might change his mind, but Ning Yuan won't, as can be seen from that line and that song. You can try it. Thinking of this, Li Shen took advantage of Xiao Ran and Fang Qiang's inattention and went to the bathroom, but changed direction halfway and went directly to where Ning Yuan stepped down from the stage. Ning Yuan tilde. Ning Yuan paused and looked over in surprise. Hey, don't call me so affectionately. Li Shen pursed her lips, her eyes like water, and walked up to him affectionately. I know your feelings. I'm sorry, I was wrong before, I thought about it, maybe we can try to be together, if it's suitable, I will break up with Xiao Ran. Stop. How dare you say that? Ning Yuan raised his hand and rubbed the goosebumps on his arm. Li Shen's expression froze. Didn't you write that line and song for me? It represents your feelings. You misunderstood. It is true that I wrote it for you, but it is definitely not because I have any feelings for you. And you? Ning Yuan laughed and said, I'm practicing the third option. See you on the trending searches. Chapter 7. Just a few words. Li Shen never expected that her wishful thinking would be shattered before it even started. A strong sense of humiliation came over her. She gnashed her teeth and said angrily, Ning Yuan, I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. In that case, don't blame me for being rude. With anger accumulating in her heart, she returned to Xiao Ran. Not long after she sat down, a schoolmate came over and informed her, Sister Shen, you will announce the Best Singer award later. Li Shen forced a smile and asked, Okay, it's our Xiao Ran who won the prize, right? No, it's Ning Yuan, his song is really nice. As the schoolgirl was speaking, she suddenly noticed that Li Shen's face looked strange, so she quickly stopped talking and turned away. The gossip seems to be true. Sister Shen is the one who forced Ning Yuanxi to be a father. Cow. Why? At this moment, Xiao Ran angrily smashed the water cup next to him, and Fang Qiang next to him also had an ugly look on his face. A debut idol singer returned to school to sing his original song, but he didn't win any awards. Wouldn't it be a joke if this got out? Xiao Ran, please sit down for a while. I'll go talk to the school. Fang Qiong stood up and went to the audience. A few minutes later, he came back when the awards ceremony started. How is it? Has it been changed? Xiao Ran asked anxiously. This is not a question of award, but a question of face. However, Fang Qiong shook his head with a sullen face. The students' demands are too high, and we can't change it. What the hell? They know nothing. Xiao Ran was just shouting when his junior schoolmate brought him the hosting script, and he immediately stopped. Senior, these are your words. After saying this, the junior girl trotted away. Li Shan and the other three looked down together, and their faces suddenly became extremely ugly. Apart from anything else, the sentence, "the most popular singer tonight is," was like a slap in Xiao Ran's face. But he was bound to get slapped in the face. Binhai University is not easy to bully. If he dares to act like a big shot, the school doesn't even need to do anything. If a few of the famous alumni list stand out, it will be enough to give him a hard time. What should we do? Li Shan asked with pursed lips. Xiao Ran clenched his fists and cursed in a low voice, "Cow. This Ning Yuan, nothing good will happen if you get involved with him, why doesn't he die?" Fang Qiong frowned and glanced at him, then said to Li Shan in a deep voice, "At this point, we can only dampen his enthusiasm. Isn't he awesome? When you get on stage, just do this." Li Shan's eyes lit up and he immediately nodded in agreement. A moment later, the Best Dance Award was presented and it was finally her turn to go on stage. Li Shan, wearing a simple dress, looked a little cool on the stage, but compared with the beautiful reader before her, she not only did not receive ghost-like cheers, but was booed in some places. In just a short while, the gossip had spread through the Jushin group, school forums and whispers. Li Shan's originally arrogant expression gradually became a little stiff, and she secretly cursed Ning Yuan in her heart, "It's all because of you." Then, she forced a smile and said, "The auditorium tonight is filled with singing voices. Students are showing off their singing skills. The most popular singer tonight is Ning Yuan." The audience immediately erupted in warm cheers, which was in stark contrast to when she came on stage, making her expression even more stiff. Backstage, Ning Yuan put down the small bottle of erguitu, burped and prepared to go on stage. Just then. Ding! God level selection triggered. 1. College life is about to end. Let's leave a profound end to these for years. Give a memorable acceptance speech. Reward, 1 million in cash. 2. College life is about to end. Let's leave a decent ending for these for years of sad secret love. Reach a settlement with Li Shan on stage. Reward, 500,000 cash. 3. College life is about to end. For your future, please the school leaders. Reward, a high-paying job offer. Ning Yuan rubbed his eyes, and after confirming that he was not mistaken, he ruled out the second option without thinking. As for pleasing the school leaders, wouldn't it be great if there was $1 million for a high-paying job? So, while thinking about his acceptance speech, he went on stage and calmly took the award certificate from Li Shan, which cost 5 yuan each and included shipping for 10 of them. At this time, Li Shan raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said, "Just now, classmate Ning Yuan sung and the phrase, 'If life could only be like the first meeting, let us see his talent.' So classmate Ning Yuan, graduation is approaching. Do you have any brilliant words to give to the younger students? Don't be perfunctory, otherwise it will be a shame for your performance just now." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone in the audience couldn't help but frown. Doesn't this sound too weird? It's clearly embarrassing. You have to say something eloquent, otherwise even if it's just perfunctory, and you use it to deny your previous performance, isn't that setting a trap for others? This little bitch, is she itching for trouble? Han Xiaoqiao rolled up her sleeves and wanted to go backstage, but Dazhuang and Lin Shan held her back. "Auntie, calm down. I can't be calm. She just wants to embarrass Ning Yuan. I can't just sit there and watch." Zhao Dazhuang said earnestly, "You have to wait until there are fewer people around, otherwise you will be stopped by others when you beat her." Lin Shan's mouth twitched. "Are you trying to persuade me?" As a result, Han Xiaoqiao actually sat down. "That makes sense." Lin Shan's mouth twitched again. The students around him couldn't help but get agitated. Some people stand up for the injustice, some people make trouble, and some people despise it. Just when everyone thought Ning Yuan was about to make a fool of himself, he suddenly smiled on the big screen. What a coincidence! I just happen to have something to say. I'll just say a few words. The auditorium was silent. Lishan snorted coldly, keep pretending. I want to see what you can say. Then we are all ears. Ning Yuan took a step forward, his expression suddenly became solemn, and he spoke slowly. If the youth are wise, the country will be wise. If the youth are rich, the country will be rich. If the youth are strong, the country will be strong. If the youth are independent, the country will be independent. If the youth are free, the country is free. If the youth are progressive, the country is progressive. If the youths are better than those in foreign countries, the country will be better than foreign countries. If the youths are more powerful than the blue planet, the country will be more powerful than the blue planet. Junior students here, you are the future. A few words were spoken in one breath, and you could hear a pin drop in the auditorium. The students blinked, a little confused, but the teachers and leaders in the front row, their eyes suddenly lit up. Principal Zheng Angguo was especially eager to slam his head and shout out, "Good," but he finally held back and asked the vice principal next to him in a low voice, "This classmate Ning Yuan said it well, why haven't I heard of him before, do you know him?" Vice Principal Li Mai nodded and said, "I know this child. He is very pitiful. His parents abandoned him when he was young and he grew up with his grandparents. When he was in his sophomore year, his grandparents passed away. He worked part-time to earn tuition and support himself. Later, when I heard about it, I waived his tuition. He has been relying on scholarships and the money he earned from working part-time to get by until now. Keep improving yourself, good boy." Zheng Angguo said with emotion, then raised his hand, ready to lead the applause. But at this moment, he realized that Ning Yuan had not finished speaking. Chapter 8. Please, go down. Lishan and Xiao Ran and Fang Qiong in the backstage were originally waiting to see Ning Yuan make a fool of himself with a gloating look on their faces. What they didn't expect was that Ning Yuan started talking like this as soon as he opened his mouth, which stunned them all. What kind of monster are you? You can make the leaders in the audience's eyes light up with your impromptu remarks. And below the stage, Da Zhuang and Lin Shen's eyes also lit up. Holy crap! Old Ning is awesome. This is a big deal. Next to him, Han Xiaoqiao stared blankly at Ning Yuan, who was smiling on the stage. Why didn't she realize that he was so talented before? At this moment, Li Shen broke the silence and said with a dry laugh, "Thank you Ning Yuan for your kindness. I'm not finished yet, sorry." Li Shen's eyes twitched. Just shut up. I've asked you to say a few words. Are you still not done yet? However, when she wanted Ning Yuan to go down, Ning Yuan had already spoken. The red sun rises, its path is bright. The river flows out of the underground stream, pouring into the ocean. The hidden dragon rises from the abyss, its scales and claws flying. The young tiger roars in the valley, and all the beasts are frightened. The eagle tests its wings, and the wind and dust flutter. The exotic flower is born, shining brightly. The dry general is sharpened, and the edge is made. The sky is blue, and the earth is yellow. Even if there are thousands of years, there are 8 wildernesses. The future is like the sea, and the future is long. How beautiful is our young nation, which will never grow old. How strong is our young nation, which will never grow old. Ning Yuan recited an excerpt from On Youthful China with full emotion as he was drunk, and the auditorium suddenly fell silent. Everyone felt that their hearts were suddenly lifted, their enthusiasm was overwhelming, and a surge of blood rose in their hearts, as if the future held infinite possibilities. After a moment's silence, Principal Zheng Angguo slammed the table and stood up, his wrinkled face flushed red. Good. Well said. Before he finished speaking, the whole auditorium was boiling with cheers and applause that seemed to blow the roof off. Awesome. It made my blood boil. This is so talented. Ning Yuan burped and looked at the audience with a dazed look. The densely packed heads that used to make him nervous now looked like a mosaic. But the cheers made him a little excited. Wow, this is the first time a young lady has been treated like this while getting into a bridal sedan. As for Li Shen and Xiao Ran, they were already dumbfounded at this point. Seeing the boiling atmosphere in the auditorium, they knew with their feet that this little trick was useless. Even he himself caused this scene. Thinking of this, they felt depressed. At this moment, Li Shen saw Ning Yuan actually raise the microphone again. Holy shit! Are you done yet? Li Shen's scalp tingled, and he quickly went up to stop him, whispering, "Stop. You've exceeded the time limit, get off quickly." As he spoke, Li Shen's nose moved and he smelled the odor of alcohol. This guy is actually drinking at this time. Li Shen's eyes lit up, and he immediately picked up the microphone and asked, "Student Ning Yuan, have you been drinking?" The audiences were all stunned. "You drank at the graduation party?" Seeing that the atmosphere was not right, Li Shen was immediately delighted. "I finally found out your weakness. But at this moment, yeah, I drank it." Ning Yuan's mind raced. If he said he drank because he was nervous on stage, it would be embarrassing. So, when I thought about the end of the party and the end of my 4 years of college life, I felt very sad and wanted to drink, but in the end, I only drank to drown my sorrows and became more sorrowful. Drinking to forget your sorrows only makes you more sorrowful? Everyone in the audience's eyes lit up. What a great sentence! What a good sentence! What a good sentence! After taking a few sips, Zheng Anguo's eyes lit up and he couldn't help muttering. On the stage, Li Shen was completely disheveled. "What do you think I am? A stepping stone?" Seeing that Ning Yuan had no intention of putting down the microphone, she finally gave up struggling and said quickly, "I see, it seems that classmate Ning Yuan is really affectionate and loyal, but unfortunately, our time is almost up, it's time to present the Best Sketch Award." "Hickey, that's fine." Ning Yuan nodded and waved to the people below the stage. "Classmates, the mountains remain green and the rivers flow forever, and we will meet again in the future." Li Shen was almost crying. Please go down quickly. This is almost turning into your stand-up comedy show." Under her anxious gaze, Ning Yuan finally stopped making any more noise and left the stage amid cheers and boos. Ding! Selection successful, reward, 1 million cash, issued. Ding! Selection successful, reward, high-tech job offer, issued. As soon as he walked to the backstage, Ning Yuan heard the system prompt and stopped in his tracks. "Can I achieve 2 rewards at the same time? I didn't please my boss, so how can this be considered accomplished?" Ning Yuan didn't know that what he said on the stage was enough to tickle the leaders. "Look, aren't the students we teach talented? Doing things that bring honor to the leaders is more advanced than flattery." Ning Yuan searched his body but didn't find any offer. Where's the reward? Is it lost? Just when he was wondering, a short-haired lady in her 50s appeared in front of him. It was Vice President Li Mai. Ning Yuan's face straightened. This was the person who waived his tuition fees. "Hello, Principal." Li Mai was stunned for a moment, then waved her hand and said with a smile, "Just call me the Vice President, Ning Yuan. I didn't realize that you are quite talented. Why didn't I see it before?" Ning Yuan's mind raced, and he said, "You know, I spend my free time working or chasing girls, so I don't spend much time on this." Li Mai looked surprised and accepted this statement immediately. It's really difficult for you, but Ning Yuan, you must be very talented in literature. Do you want to continue to stay in school and study for free?" Ning Yuan was stunned. So this is the offer. If it were the Ning Yuan of the past, he might have agreed. But now? Ning Yuan shook his head. "Thank you for your kindness, I appreciate it, but forget about further studies." "Is it because of financial problems?" "Don't worry, the school will not only waive your tuition and fees, but will even help you apply for a teaching assistant salary." Ning Yuan shook his head. "It's not because of this, but some personal reasons." "What personal reasons?" "Because I want to eat, drink and have fun. My ambition is not here. I want to earn more than an assistant teacher's salary." Li Mai was silent for a few seconds after hearing this, and finally sighed, "I understand. Since you want to enter the society, I won't persuade you. But you'd better not fall behind in your studies. When the time comes, with your literary talent, the school will still welcome you back." When the people backstage heard this, they couldn't help but show envy. The vice president personally came to invite Ning Yuan and said such words, which shows how much the school appreciates Ning Yuan. How come such a good thing never happens to me? Ning Yuan was also very grateful and bowed slightly to Li Mai. "Thank you for your kindness." Li Mai smiled and patted his shoulder. "You must work hard after you leave school." Ning Yuan watched Li Mai leave, and at this moment, a text message came. "Your account has 1 million yuan. Chapter 9 Let the bullets fly for a while." When Ning Yuan saw the text message, the smell of alcohol in his mouth immediately dissipated. He immediately called Han Xiao, "Where are you?" The bicycle shed on the side of the auditorium. After hanging up the phone, Ning Yuan was about to leave when several girls surrounded him chattering. "Senior, please add Jushin. Add me as well. To be honest, I'm very interested in singing." "Are you interested in people who sing?" "As if you're not, senior. She just said she wanted to be your girlfriend." "I don't have any." Amid the chirping of birds and the fragrance of the wind, Ning Yuan suddenly became the focus, attracting envious glances from the boys around her. Then he coughed lightly and said, "Sorry, I have something else to do. Please make way." Under the astonished gaze of the crowd, he trotted out of the backstage. Is there something wrong with this senior? Why is he so rude to so many beauties?" Little did they know that Ning Yuan also left in tears. Although the meat in his mouth was very tempting, in comparison, the mansion was more attractive. "How's it going?" When they arrived at the bicycle shed, Ning Yuan couldn't wait to ask. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen made room for him, squeezed him next to Han Xiao, and said, "Look for yourself." Ning Yuan and Han Xiao were almost stuck together. Ignoring the latter's slightly blushing face, he stared straight at the laptop screen. The above is a video of him singing. The song, "Arrogant," is quite appropriate for the occasion, coupled with a very pretentious self-narrative long essay, and finally ending with, "If only life could be like our first meeting," which gave Ning Yuan goosebumps. This is even more depressing than NetEase cloud music. But the majority of young netizens just buy into this. I cried. This is too tragic, isn't it? After 4 years of love, this is the result. It's so pitiful. If it were me, I would probably be thinking about which building to jump from. The song is really good. It takes a lot of sadness to make it. Ning Yuan was amazed to see that there were thousands of comments in just a short while. Some artists' Weibo accounts don't even have so many comments. Why are there so many comments? It's only been a short while. Han Xiao chuckled and switched the web page. The first was a verified account of Guangying Entertainment, which reposted a comment, "Young people today are really talented." This is a well-known entertainment company. Although it is not as good as the top 5 companies, it also has some extremely popular artists. Seeing that the boss had spoken, the artists under the company also reposted and commented. "This young man is really affectionate. Why didn't anyone treat me so well when I was in school? This song is very good, I recommend everyone to listen to it." At the same time, major gossip self-media and notary accounts also began to make efforts. If the artists are still being tactful, these self-media will just not care. Shock. The guy pursued his goddess for 4 years and finally got his wish, but on the day they held hands. Men don't cry, stand up Lou. Don't throw your sincerity away at your best age. Behind all the various titles is a sad story. Seeing the situation developing at an exponential rate, Ning Yuan was shocked. In the information age, everything is possible. The effect is immediate. When will the main course be served? Lin Shen asked, looking for trouble. Ning Yuan looked up the trend on the internet and said, "Don't worry, let the bullets fly for a while." Brother Fang, is there any way to control Ning Yuan? In the nanny car, Xiao Ran, who left in shame, asked while suppressing his anger. Originally, he wanted to use the graduation party to create a wave of trending searches, such as Xiao Ran never forgets his teacher's kindness and sings for free at his alma mater. Unexpectedly, not only did he fail to become famous, but he became a stepping stone, allowing Ning Yuan to be embarrassed. Who the hell can stand this? Even at this moment, Xiao Ran was still filled with anger when he thought about it. New and old grudges surged into his mind, and his mind was filled with only thoughts of revenge. Don't rush it, take your time. Fang Qiong said with a serious face. After all, he and Xiao Ran would rise and fall together, and he couldn't just sit back and watch. However, just as the two of them were thinking about how to get back at their enemies, Li Shen beside them suddenly exclaimed. Ran, something bad has happened. Look. Xiao Ran glared at her impatiently and took the phone reluctantly. But when he saw it, he almost fainted from anger. What's wrong? Fang Qiong frowned and asked, snatching the phone and taking a look, his veins suddenly bulged. At this point, the matter had become a hot topic, and some people, posing as students at Binhai University, had even pointed out Xiao Ran and Li Shen as the couple in the story who forced the man to become a father. Seeing that the fire was about to burn them, Xiao Ran and Li Shan suddenly panicked. Brother Fang, what should we do? Some people have already started scolding us. Fang Qiang's face turned pale. After carefully looking through it, he suddenly slammed his phone down and said, Wang Ying Entertainment, what the hell are you doing? Li Shan looked at the fruit machine she had just bought distressedly, while Xiao Ran hurriedly asked, Brother Fang, what's going on? Fang Qiang took a deep breath and said, Xiao Ran, you'd better be mentally prepared. Wang Ying Entertainment is starting to step on you. They are sick. That's normal. Lu Shu belongs to their company. If they step on you, Lu Shu can climb up. They can't even think about it. Xiao Ran shouted almost madly, scaring the students passing by the nanny car. Fang Qiang patted his shoulder and said, Calm down first and wait for me in the car. I will talk to the company and see how to do the public relations. After saying that, Fang Qiang opened the car door and got out. Why not talk in the car? He didn't want Xiao Ran and Li Shan to see him being scolded like a grandson. But Fang Qiang could never have imagined that as soon as he got off the car, Xiao Ran would start to commit suicide. Ran, what are you doing? Seeing Xiao Ran take out his mobile phone to log into his personal account, Li Shan asked hurriedly. The artist's publicly certified accounts are basically kept by the company team, and all content is decided and sent by the team. If artists want to post on Jubo themselves, most of them will create a small account. Although it is not officially certified, in the eyes of paparazzi and self-media, it is no different from a certified account. Anyway, everyone knows who it is. I told them to shut up. As Xiao Ran spoke, he began to edit the content. Li Shan was anxious. Ran, calm down and don't make any decisions on your own. What if you ruin the company's public relations strategy? Don't be afraid of shit. I just said a few words. What's the big deal? After saying that, Xiao Ran clicked send. When Li Shan saw it, she was stunned. I heard that some people said that I forced someone to become a father. That's ridiculous. For those who spread rumors, I hope you can keep your mouth shut, otherwise I reserve the right to sue you. Just a few minutes after he finished sending the message, Han Xiaoqiao smiled and said in the bicycle shed, Xiao Ran used his trumpet to speak. Ning Yuan was cheered up, the bullet has flown, take a screenshot, and send a recording. Chapter 10 I have a house. Ran, you're in trouble. Li Shan said with some uneasiness, but what she got in return was Xiao Ran's disdainful sneer. They are the ones who got into trouble. If they dare to treat me as a soft persimmon, don't blame me for being rude. Seeing him so conceited, Li Shan couldn't help but pursed her lips. At this time, Fang Qiang was scolded and returned to the car. He said with a bad face, now they have the upper hand in public opinion. Whatever we say is wrong, so the company asked us to remain silent and not make any response. When this storm is over, the company will arrange to whitewash you, and then we can also help you boost your popularity. After saying this, Fang Qiang did not receive any response. Looking back, Li Shan had a conflicted expression, while Xiao Ran looked stunned. Fang Qiang frowned, what's wrong with you? Brother Fang, I just couldn't help myself and said something on my trumpet. Is that okay? Upon hearing this, Fang Qiang was suddenly struck by lightning. After a while, he picked up the mineral water bottle on the armrest and smashed it over. Xiao Ran. Are you sick? Who told you to do this? I. Bring it here so I can see it. Xiao Ran handed over the phone, and when Fang Qiang saw it, his blood pressure suddenly soared. Brother Fang, are you okay? Fang Qiang's facial muscles twitched unconsciously for a few seconds before he spoke. Don't call me brother, you are my eldest brother. Why the hell was I so blind to choose to take on a stupid artist like you? Upon hearing this, Xiao Ran also became angry. Brother Fang, can't you just talk nicely? How dare you ask me to talk properly? Fang Qiang laughed in anger and threw the phone back. See for yourself. Sharby. When Xiao Ran picked up the phone, his head suddenly buzzed and he felt dizzy. In Jubo, his remarks on the trumpet have been widely circulated, and those who have seen it are roughly divided into two groups. One side believes that he has been slandered and this is to protect his own image. The other side thought that he was guilty and would confess without being asked. Just when the spectators were watching the two groups of people fighting until their brains were about to pop out, a recording and a secretly taken photo suddenly appeared on the battlefield and instantly settled the matter. The child's father. Are you worthy? I'm just asking you to be a shield. Do you think I can let you go after you know about us? Money is a good thing. It can turn black into white and white into black. Xiao Ran's quotes immediately swept the entire internet, and the controversy disappeared in an instant. Damn it. Xiao Ran is actually such a person. Isn't he too insidious? He transferred money to someone and then sued them for blackmail. What a weirdo. Your girlfriend has a child, but you force someone else to be the father. Is it okay if he doesn't want to be the father? What kind of train of thought is this? What else could he be thinking? He was afraid of hindering his career, and he wanted to hide it, but he also wanted to appease his girlfriend, so he came up with this idea. Awesome. Xiao Ran is truly a god. I thought he wasn't very good before, and sure enough, his personality is not good, and his works are not good either. Look at the original song he sang at the graduation party. What was it called? It was more than a level lower than arrogant. The crowd was in an uproar, and everyone was talking, almost drowning out the comment section of Xiao Ran's blog. His fans were in disbelief. When people say that our idols are not good at original creation, we can argue that creation requires accumulation, and that they have worked very hard to reach their current level. When we say that our idol's singing skills are not good, we can continue to use the excuse that he has tried very hard. But the fact that he not only had a girlfriend, but also had a child immediately pierced the hearts of his fans. Not to mention anything else, just based on this, Xiao Ran's fan group became deserted in less than half an hour, with only the group owner, administrator, and some grey avatars that no longer flickered. When Guangying Entertainment and its artists saw this, they would never let go of this opportunity. An artist needs not only talent but also virtue. Alas, I used to think Xiao Ran was pretty good. This person's character is simply incomparable to Lu Shu's. The celebrities pushed the incident to a new level by dragging it down, and it immediately became the 6th most searched topic. Xiao Ran's character collapsed. It was simply unbearable to watch. Seeing this trending search, Xiao Ran's phone silently dropped to the ground, and his face was filled with despair. Finished. At this time, Fang Qiong's cell phone rang. After listening to their voice on the other end in a low voice, he looked at Xiao Ran coldly. The company has just made a decision. Because your personal behavior has caused a negative impact on the company, and you have ignored the rules and regulations and made private statements, which has exacerbated the negative impact, the company has decided to suspend all investment in you and deduct all your income in the past 6 months. Li Shin was anxious. Brother Fang, don't do that. Isn't this going to hide Ran? It's good enough that he didn't have to pay compensation. Who asked him to die? Xiao Ran finally came back to his senses and said unwillingly, Brother Fang, you can't say that. Even if I have no credit, I have worked hard, right? What a pain. Fang Qiong angrily scolded, after this incident, you have become a rat crossing the street, you know that. Others look at you as if you are a joke, your personality has collapsed, and the company's investment in you has all gone down the drain. You still have the nerve to talk about hard work. Xiao Ran opened his mouth, and his whole body became distraught. Next to her, Li Shin covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming down her face. Xiao Ran was put on ice, so wouldn't he the tens of thousands of yuan of pocket money he had every month be gone? Cousin, I love you. You are so awesome. In the bicycle shed, Han Xiao saw that everything was settled, so she called her cousin to express her gratitude. I'm just going with the flow. You guys are awesome. You provided so much ammunition. The cousin on the other end of the phone smiled and said, thanks to you, Lu Shu's biggest competitor is gone. As his agent, I have to treat you to a meal. Are you free tomorrow? Han Xiao glanced sideways and saw Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shin nodding frantically. Then she ignored Ning Yuan and said, no problem. This really means that I don't treat you as an outsider. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shin were winking at Ning Yuan, but he acted as if he saw nothing, with only the pleasant reminder in his mind. Ding! Selection successful. Reward, a set of Yunzhu Yuan luxury villas, has been issued. A card appeared silently in his pocket. Ning Yuan reached out and squeezed it, feeling like he was dreaming. In just 2 days, I had a mansion, a luxury car, and an extra $1 million on my card. This is a goal that an ordinary person may not be able to achieve in his entire life, and it is perfect. Lao Ning, what are you thinking about? I'm going to have dinner with cousin Xiao tomorrow night. Do you want to go? Da Zhuang touched Ning Yuan, and he finally came back to his senses. Go. Ning Yuan agreed immediately, and Han Xiao couldn't help but smile slightly. At this time, he continued, "Do you remember your promise? You said that if my songs are good, you would treat me to a night out." As soon as these words were spoken, Lin Shen immediately looked at the ceiling and whistled. Zhuang counted on his fingers and calculated how many days of work he would have to work to earn back the money he earned from this invitation. But Han Xiao just waved her hand. "Let's go. I've made arrangements." Chapter 11. We are all brothers. Han Xiao was about to call a taxi to go straight to the nightclub, but was stopped by Lin Shen. "Our Lao Ning has a car." "Him?" Han Xiao turned her head in surprise, looked Ning Yuan up and down, and said, "Don't I know how much money he has?" "You don't know this, right? Come on, Lao Ning, take her to open her eyes." Lin Shen raised his hand generously. Ning Yuan shook his head and refused. "You can't drive after drinking." "What's going on? He really bought a car." Han Xiao ignored Ning Yuan's answer, looking incredulous. "It's over, the gap is a bit too big. Keep a low profile." Ning Yuan coughed twice and led the way. The group of four walked towards the parking lot not far from the school, but found that it was surrounded by people. "Don't tell me this car is yours." After finally squeezing in, Han Xiao was stunned when she saw the super cool car body. Although she didn't know much about cars, it was obvious that this one wasn't a cheap one. "Ning Yuan, have you sold your soul?" Han Xiao choked up a little. The cabbages that she had raised for 4 years were eaten by pigs. "Go, go, go." Ning Yuan waved his hand. "Am I that kind of person? I bought this. Come on, I'll take you for a ride." After saying this, he didn't wait for the three people to answer. Ning Yuan got into the car first. He didn't want to be asked about the origin of the car. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen were quite tactful and sat in the back row in tacit understanding. As for Han Xiao, she was forced to sit in the passenger seat. Ning Yuan was drunk, so of course he didn't drive the car himself. Fortunately, the car is quite advanced and equipped with the latest driverless technology. You just need to enter your desired destination in the app bound to your mobile phone, and the car will automatically select the best route and start autonomous driving. The crowd of onlookers came to their senses with a scream as they watched Cullinan speed away. "Fuck, is the guy driving the car the one who got named as a father at the party?" "What do you mean by seemingly? It is clearly the case. You're so rich, but you're forced to be a father. Why don't you treat me well? I'll pay for it." "It's too late. Didn't you see that there was someone in the passenger seat? Someone got there first." As soon as Cullinan got on the road, other cars gave way. "Are you kidding? If I get a scratch, I'm afraid I'll have to sign a contract to sell myself to pay off the debt." The group went straight to the nightclub without any obstruction. In less than 2 hours, Han Xiao vomited 3 bottles. "You guys are such losers, how much did you drink and you're like this?" She had her hands in her pockets, a lollipop in her mouth, and a look of contempt on her face. Ning Yuan and the other two were staggering as they walked and were speechless for a while. Even though they already knew that Han Xiao had an extraordinary alcohol tolerance, it was a bit too exaggerated that she could still walk after drinking 16 bottles of alcohol. Besides, Ning Yuan walked over curiously and leaned over. Suddenly, he put his hand on her belly and rubbed it. "Hey, where did you drink all that wine?" Han Xiao's face flushed. "Who cares? Look at your low alcohol tolerance. It's really embarrassing. You are awesome, okay? We can't compare to you." Ning Yuan wisely did not argue with her. What if she asked him to drink more? Wouldn't that be embarrassing? He never expected that even if he didn't argue, he would not be able to escape the fate of drinking more. "I'm hungry, let's go have a midnight snack." Han Xiao shook her hair and drove the three of them to the night market. After finding a food stall and sitting down, she waved, "Boss, 2 boxes of beer, 50 beef skewers." Ning Yuan raised his hand to hold her down. "Take it easy, we can't eat any more." "Oh, that's 40 beef skewers, grilled squid, grilled beef, and smashed cucumber and peanuts." "Wajie." Ning Yuan's lips twitched. What kind of magnanimity is this? After a while, everyone was gathered together, and after Han Xiao poured them a lot of wine, they talked about their plans after graduation. "I met a big brother while I was working. He was very nice to me and asked me to work as a foreman for him after graduation. Although I had to run around a lot, I could earn 10,000 yuan a month. Zhao Dazhuang said in a muffled voice. Several people had heard him say this, that Big Brother was the boss of the place where he often did manual labor. Okay, Da Zhuang, where's Lao Lin? Ning Yuan looked at Lin Shen and saw that he had drunk half a bottle of wine. He sighed and said, I'm going back to my hometown. Binhai is not a place where an ordinary outsider like me can stay. Instead of working so hard to make ends meet, I might as well go back to my hometown and find a job. I have a ready-made house and can afford a car. Then I can find a girlfriend and that's it. Then you must tell us when you get married. Ning Yuan laughed, but he was thinking about something else. To be honest, with only 3 of them as friends, he wanted them to stay and help them settle down. Not to mention anything else, the mansion in Yuan can accommodate 20 or 30 people. But not now. Singing a song or reciting a few lines of poetry can be explained by saying that one has become enlightened. It is fine to say that a car worth several million is one's entire fortune, but a house worth hundreds of millions is difficult to explain. Wait a little longer, at least give the huge fortune a reasonable amount of time. Ning Yuan was thinking, and Xiao Xiao suddenly asked, Xiao Yuanzi, what about you? As for me, since one person's food feeds their whole family, it doesn't matter where I go, so I'll just stay in Binhai. Oh. Han Xiao Xiao nodded, picked up the wine glass, and asked casually, do you have a place to live? If not, I have an empty room. If you stay there, you can help me share the rent. After hearing this, Da Zhuang and Lin Shen sobered up immediately. Seeing Ning Yuan in a daze, they quickly kicked him and shouted with a wink, Old Ning. Xiao Xiao is asking you a question. I heard you hiccup. How could we not have a place to live? Don't worry, we've already found one. As soon as Ning Yuan opened his mouth, the atmosphere at the table suddenly froze. Oh my god. You must have had a cerebral thrombosis. Da Zhuang and Lin Shen were anxious. They glanced at Han Xiao Xiao's stiff expression and said quickly, Lao Ning, we think Xiao Xiao's suggestion is good. If you go to her place, you can save a lot of rent. Ning Yuan waved his hand. Am I the one who takes advantage of my brothers? Brother. The atmosphere at the table was not just frozen, it was like it was frozen. Lin Shen and the others hurriedly looked at Han Xiao Xiao and said, Xiao Xiao, Lao Ning. Han Xiao Xiao raised her hand and said, stop talking, he can't hear you. When they turned around, they saw Ning Yuan's head was on the table, unconscious. What should I do? Old Ning is just not smart enough. Lin Shen muttered in a low voice. Zhao Dazhuang hugged his shoulders and pondered for 2 seconds. Have you ever heard of the necessary routines in family ethics dramas? What? The rice has been cooked. After Da Zhuang finished speaking, he lifted Lin Shen onto his shoulders and said, Xiao Xiao, Lin Shen can't make it anymore. We're leaving now. Lao Ning is in your care. Don't send me to the dormitory. I have the key. After finishing his words in one breath, he carried the person away. Lin Shen's stomach pressed against his shoulder, feeling extremely uncomfortable. Da Zhuang, put me down first, I can't hold it. Han Xiao Xiao's mouth twitched as she watched Lin Shen vomit while being carried by Zhao Dazhuang and jogging. The scene was very beautiful. Then she turned her gaze to Ning Yuan and her face gradually turned red. If I don't go back to the dormitory, where else can I go? The next day, Ning Yuan woke up in a daze. When I opened my eyes, I found myself in a bright and tidy strange room, with a kawaii teddy bear doll lying next to me. A faint fragrance entered his nose and he immediately became alert. Where is this? He sat up suddenly, and a snow-white arm slid down his belly. Anyone else? Ning Yuan was startled and immediately looked to the side, and saw a familiar delicate face. Han Xiao Xiao. Ning Yuan was shocked, and then his eyes moved downwards involuntarily. She was wearing a thin pajamas, curled up beside him, with her legs on Ning Yuan's knees. What happened last night? Ning Yuan hurriedly avoided his gaze, lifted the quilt to look at himself, his face suddenly stiffened. You're awake. At this time, Han Xiao Xiao also woke up, rubbed her sleepy eyes, sat up lazily and stretched. Ning Yuan opened his mouth, at a loss for words. You drank too much last night, and Dazhuang and the others ignored you, so I took you home. But There are too many things in the second bedroom, so there's no room for anyone to sleep. I'll let you sleep here. We're brothers, so what's wrong with sleeping in the same bed? But You vomited all over yourself. What's wrong with your brother helping you wash your clothes and wipe your body? Then we. Don't worry, we are all brothers. What can I do to you? Ning Yuan's mood suddenly became complicated. It's okay, it's good, but it would be nice if something happened. Bar. What are you thinking? Ning Yuan shook his head, and when he saw Han Xiaoqiao stretching with an amazing curve, he quickly looked away. We are all brothers, don't look at anything inappropriate. Han Xiaoqiao squinted her eyes and glanced at this scene, and couldn't help feeling angry. Are you a wooden man? I have done this and you still haven't expressed your opinion. Thinking of this, she got out of bed angrily and threw a pile of clothes over. Wake up and leave quickly. Do you still want to live here? Oh. Seeing that Ning Yuan actually put on his clothes, Han Xiaoqiao became even angrier. But to be honest, this guy has a pretty good figure. Bar. What are you thinking? Just then, Han Xiaoqiao's cell phone rang. After picking it up, she heard her cousin's somewhat excited voice. Xiaoqiao. Your classmate is very popular. You must bring him to dinner tonight, our company wants to sign him. Chapter 12 Binhai University Ning Yuan. Don't forget to have dinner with my cousin tonight. Wait for my call. Okay. Han Xiaoqiao gritted her teeth as she watched Ning Yuan pull up his pants and leave. If you stay any longer you will die. Ning Yuan didn't dare to stay any longer. As they were alone, a man and a woman, they had to be prepared for the worst. After going downstairs and leaving the community, he waved to stop a taxi. Master, go to Yunhua Yuan. The taxi drove into the traffic, and Ning Yuan sighed secretly as he looked at the scenery passing by outside. It's different when you have money. Not only do you dare to take a taxi, but you also don't ask the approximate fare before getting in. It's great. Half an hour later, when they were about to arrive at Yunhua Yuan, Ning Yuan caught a glimpse of the department store outside the window and suddenly said, Master, stop here for a moment. Okay. After scanning the QR code and paying, Ning Yuan got off the car and stood outside the main entrance of the mall. He used to avoid places like this. But now, thinking about the 1 million in the card, he walked in with his head held high. Buddy is rich. As a result, when he saw a t-shirt he liked and asked the price of 4,800, he suddenly felt that 1 million was nothing. This is a way of collecting IQ tax. We must not be fooled by capitalists. Ning Yuan turned around and left as if nothing had happened, went downstairs to get a hairstyling, and then spent more than 1,000 yuan to get a new look from head to toe, feeling very satisfied. I spent more than 3,000 to buy a new phone, perfect. After leaving the mall, Ning Yuan saw that the balance on his card was more than 995,000 yuan, and he couldn't help but laugh and cry. After all this effort, it only cost less than $5,000. Ning Yuan. You are Ning Yuan, right? Just as he was thinking about it, a surprised voice came from the side. Ning Yuan turned his head and saw a girl with an oval face and bright makeup looking at him with some surprise. He looks familiar, maybe a classmate. Who are you? My name is Zhang Na, and we are from the same class. Zhang Na looked at Ning Yuan and her eyes lit up. In her impression, every time she saw Ning Yuan, he was always dressed in a rustic manner. He almost never changed his clothes and his hair was neither long nor languid. Although he was not sloppy, he was not very energetic either. Even if he was quite eye-catching last night, it was because of the atmosphere and the spotlight. But now, Ning Yuan looks brand new from head to toe. His slim new clothes show off his broad shoulders, narrow waist and long legs, and are much more stylish than the oversized clothes he bought at the flea market. The medium-length hair was replaced by neat short hair, and their whole person's temperament was like a person who had just emerged from a coffin. Hello, what's up? Just as Zhang Na was lost in thought, she heard Ning Yuan's polite voice. She came back to her senses, swallowed her saliva, excitedly took out her phone, and asked expectantly, "Can I take a photo with you?" Ning Yuan was stunned for a moment, then smiled and waved his hand, saying, "Forget it, I'm not a star, why would I take a photo with you?" His smile, with his eyes slightly narrowed, would have attracted attention even when his appearance was not good yesterday, let alone now. Zhang Na's eyes suddenly lit up. Why didn't I realize how handsome he is before? Based on his looks, does he need to be a father? You can just be my child's biological father. After forcing herself to calm down, Zhang Na asked in surprise, "Don't you know?" "What? You're famous." Zhang Na came close to Ning Yuan and clicked on Jubo, Look, you're on a hot search list. Binhai University Ning Yuan. Ninth on the real-time list, just 6 simple words, it's him. After clicking on the relevant information, countless people became curious about him. That woman who forced Ning Yuan to become a father, she will regret it now. I bet that if Ning Yuan dresses up a little, the rich woman will be able to book his evening schedule for the next few years. She probably regretted it. When what happened last night came out, Xiao Ran immediately became obscure. The president of the fan club even bought a standing ticket and ran away overnight. Does anyone know Ning Yuan's contact information? If it's true, I'll transfer 10,000 yuan immediately. Are there any resources for the songs he sings? Ning Yuan raised his eyebrows, he was really angry. He had not expected this. In his opinion, the heat last night was so high because of the support of Guangying Entertainment and its artists, and the fact that celebrities being hammered was something that everyone liked to see. Once Xiao Ran was hammered to death, the situation would calm down. As a result, the majority of netizens who had nothing better to do than to extinguish the fire, and it has instead been getting more and more intense. Are you sure? Ning Yuan was speechless for a while. Won't this add a lot of troubles to my peaceful life? No, it's better to keep a low profile recently. Stay at home for 10 days or half a month, and then come out and do activities after the storm has passed. Ding! God level selection triggered. 1. Create a personal Jubo account, take and post a personal photo, reward, smoky voice singing skill. 2. Sign a contract to become an official artist and debut, reward, sleep needs are halved. 3. Stay at home until the fever subsides, reward, a physique that won't make you fat. The sudden choice made Ning Yuan stunned. There is no physical reward, this is unscientific, I want a house, a car, money, and a girl. Please select. When the urging reminder came, Ning Yuan chose one without much hesitation. Don't you want to take a photo? Come on. Zhang Na was stunned for a moment, then became excited. Just as she was about to open the camera, Ning Yuan handed her his cell phone. Use mine. I just bought it. Let's see how it works. I'll post it on Jubo when the time comes. You can pick it up for yourself. Zhang Na took it blankly, then suddenly realized what was happening and exclaimed, You want to post the photo on Jubo? As we all know, he is very popular at the moment. If you can show up on his Jubo account, you can get a lot of fans. Well, if you don't want to. I do. Zhang Na said, as if afraid that Ning Yuan would regret it. She hugged his arm with one hand and raised her phone with the other, click, click. Okay, Ning Yuan, let's add a gathering signal. Send me the photos so I don't have to pick them up myself. Oh, isn't this a bit bad? Ning Yuan was stunned. Their relationship was not good enough to add Jushin. Zhang Na was embarrassed for a moment and said, Don't worry, I won't harass you. That's fine. Ning Yuan opened Jushin and found that apart from Han Xiao Xiao and the other 3, there were only a few middlemen who could introduce odd jobs. Very clean. Zhang Na glanced at them secretly, and suddenly felt a little ashamed. The number of friends she had was not even a fraction of her own. Just then, Ning Yuan's phone rang with a series of friend request alerts, which scared him. Then a thought suddenly popped up in my mind, did this bastard Xiao Ran call on his die-hard fans to cyberbully me? You guys can do that, but do you think the dirty talk from my world is just for show? In that case, don't blame me for picking a few out to make an example of them. Ning Yuan clicked on the friend request, and his momentum suddenly stagnated. Are you Ning Yuan from Binhai University? Please pass me. I have big breasts, a thin waist, and long legs. Is that Ning Yuan? I want to discuss a business worth several hundred million with you. If it goes through, I'll give you 2,000 yuan. Ning Yuan, huh? Please give me a call. I want to treat you to a meal. Chapter 13 Reward, Smoky Voice. There were so many people who wanted Ning Yuan to sell his body and songs that there were hundreds of applications. Ning Yuan couldn't help but frown. What the hell is going on? Just when I was wondering, Zhao Dazhuan sent a voice invitation, and Lin Shen's voice came from it. Lao Ning. Is there anyone who wants to join you? If so, pick the one who is older and agrees. If you really want to give me money, we can split it in half. Ning Yuan's face suddenly turned dark. Lin Shen. I'm the draft master. Lin Shen and Zhao Dazhuan laughed and said, this is a rare opportunity. Haven't you heard the saying, if you stand in the right place, even a pig can fly? Now there's a gust of wind. If we don't take this opportunity to fly freely, wouldn't it be a waste? Besides, Dazhuang is also involved, why are you just scolding me? Fuck you too, so you sold me out. That's wrong. I just added him as a friend. How can you say it's selling him? I really want to kick you, and hang up. Ning Yuan was about to hang up when Lin Shan asked hurriedly, stop it, let's talk business, okay? What happened between you and Xiao Xiao last night? Roll. Ning Yuan hung up immediately, but he couldn't help but recall the way Xiao Xiao lazily got up in the morning. At this time, Zhang Na asked curiously, who is Xiao Xiao? Is she your girlfriend? Ning Yuan was too lazy to answer and just changed the subject. Are you sweeping me, or am I sweeping you? Let me scan you. After the two added each other as friends, Ning Yuan sent the photos to her, then downloaded the Jubo app and prepared to create an account. But the nickname, Ning Yuan, is already taken. The nickname, Binhai University Ning Yuan, has been taken. Good luck was taken by a dog, this nickname is already taken. Ning Yuan almost lost his temper after more than 20 nicknames were taken. Make trouble. Okay, I don't believe it. Ning Yuan clicked on the screen. Without tranquility, one cannot achieve far-reaching goals. Nickname is available, do you want to confirm? Confirm. Ning Yuan felt relieved that his own name had been included in the nickname. At this time, Zhang Na asked curiously, without tranquility, one can achieve great things. What does that mean? Ning Yuan coughed lightly, and the memory of reciting and writing out the entire book came clearly to his mind. One cannot achieve his ambitions without being indifferent, and one cannot achieve his goals without being calm. In simple terms, it is to advise people to be indifferent to fame and fortune and study with a calm mind. Zhang Na's eyes immediately sparkled, you are really talented. You can say, if you don't study hard, I will kill you, so refreshingly. Forehead. Ning Yuan burst out laughing. As expected, young people all have hidden stupid qualities. After chatting with Zhang Na for a few more words, Ning Yuan said goodbye and walked towards Yunshui Yuan while posting the photos he had just taken on Jubo. It was immediately forwarded and commented on. I met Ning Tongxia by chance. Isn't that cool? Ning Yuan was stunned for a moment and found that the person who forwarded the comment was Zhang Na. No wonder she puts on makeup so well, she turns out to be a beauty blogger. The content she posts are all about European and American makeup, with distinct features, as if she is using her face as a canvas and painting it with bright and rich colors. It's just a bit niche and doesn't quite conform to the aesthetic taste of Chinese people. After all, people who like this kind of makeup mostly like to hear others say, wow, your makeup is so good. Most Chinese people like the kind of makeup that makes others say, wow, are you really wearing makeup? Although it is a niche genre, those who like it really like it, so even though Zhang Na has less than 100,000 fans, her level of activity is quite high. She had just forwarded it and there were already hundreds of comments. Wow, Nana, is this your boyfriend? Where did you find him? He's quite handsome. This smile melts me. Let's make a deal. How about I give it to you on 1, 3, or 5? This handsome guy looks familiar, I think I've seen him somewhere. Don't talk nonsense, this is Ning Yuan, my classmate, not my boyfriend. Zhang Na pinned her reply to the top. The comment section suddenly became lively. Oh my god. This is Ning Yuan, the protagonist of last night's incident. Oh my god, he's so handsome, but someone is forcing him to be a father. He must be crazy. I can make him the biological father of my child. Please give me his contact information. Zhang Na's expectation was correct. After posting the photo, she successfully gained fans. By noon, the number of fans, which was less than 100,000, had tripled. But compared with Ning Yuan's account, it's a little lacking. Countless people heard the news and found him through Zhang Na's account, and immediately confirmed that it was him. Subsequently, the number of fans directly exceeded 500,000. Wow! It's really Ning Yuan. I said he would be very handsome after dressing up. Is that Li Shan crazy? Such a handsome guy has been pursuing her for so long, but she actually rejected him. I'm in love. The comments section exploded with voices of jealousy, but before Ning Yuan could launch a fancy counterattack, he was drowned out by others. Ding! Selection successful, reward, smoky voice singing skill, issued. As soon as he walked to the main gate of Yunhua Yuan, Ning Yuan heard the prompt, and then various vocal techniques came to his mind, from unfamiliar to familiar, and finally integrated. R. Subconsciously, Ning Yuan opened his mouth and tried the tone. A hoarse voice came out, comparable to the level of smoking 3 or 4 packs of cigarettes a day. Not bad. Ning Yuan nodded in satisfaction. This is a must-have voice for talent shows. Isn't that a gathering of people with smoky voices on the Voice of China show? If I go there myself. An absolute natural advantage. In front of Yunhua Yuan, Ning Yuan stood at the gate and couldn't help but sigh. This front entrance doesn't look like a residential area at all. Even a 5-star hotel wouldn't have this kind of specifications. Looking at the dome-shaped door in front of him, Ning Yuan shook his head and walked in. As soon as you enter the door, you will see the property center. There is a sign hanging on the glass door saying 24-hour service. Ning Yuan didn't think much about it and continued walking inside. He stopped in front of the circular service counter. Hello sir, my name is Feng Shu, is there anything I can help you with? A lady in her 30s in a suit, with her hands on her stomach, leaned forward and asked with a kind smile. Ning Yuan took out the gold-threaded integrated card from his pocket and said, "It's my first time here, and I don't know how to get around." Feng Shu recognized the card immediately and her eyes widened slightly. He then managed his facial expression and restrained himself, but his attitude became more friendly. "This way please, I'll take you there." As she spoke, she spread her hands and led the way. Not far away, the property staff were a little surprised when they saw her respectful attitude. "Oh my god, what the hell is wrong with the manager? I don't understand. She was mad this morning, but now she's smiling like a flower. Keep your voice down, or you'll be over if you hear us." Just as they were discussing this, Feng Shu's voice suddenly rang out over the intercom. "Xiao Wang, why are you still standing there? Mr. Ning is a distinguished guest, why don't you go get the gift?" Upon hearing this, everyone was stunned. "Oh my god! The boss has moved in." Chapter 14 My Mansion My Home. The people in the property were alarmed and started to get busy. In Yunhua Yuan, there are many types of house types. Ordinary commercial unit buildings, 2-story duplex buildings, and single-family villa areas. Most wealthy people would choose a duplex or a single-family villa. However, in addition to these 3 types, there is also a special type of luxury villa. It covers an area of 1,300 square meters on the first floor alone, with a total of 5 floors connected from top to bottom, and the price is nearly 300 million. Almost no one can afford such a luxurious villa. Those who can afford this kind of villa are collectively called Supreme VIPs by the property management staff of Yunhua Yuan. At this moment, Ning Yuan in front of him is the most distinguished guest. There are regulations from above that VIPs have the right to fire property staff. This is an old man. If he is dissatisfied with something, he will lose his job. How can the property people not be nervous? You really don't have to do this. I'm not used to it. Ning Yuan looked at the extra group of people around him and felt a little amused. Some people carried trays with bottles of mineral water and exquisite snacks worth thousands of dollars, and some carried gift bags with a total value of nearly 1 million yuan. The most expensive one was a Patek Philippe watch worth more than $400,000. As for those who come empty-handed, they can only give the most sincere smile. A group of people surrounded Ning Yuan like the moon surrounded by stars, making him feel uncomfortable. Seeing this, Feng Shu immediately waved her hand and said, "Those who didn't take anything can go away." After he finished speaking, only 5 people were left following him, and Ning Yuan felt much more relieved. "Mr. Ning, this way please." Walking into the covered bridge and looking through the floor-to-ceiling windows, you can see green trees outside and an artificial stream meandering through clusters of flowers, which looks particularly pleasing to the eye. It can only be said that it is worthy of being the most expensive luxury villa in Binhai. Every place is worth money. In this exquisite greenery, there stand 6 buildings that look like something out of a science fiction movie, full of technological beauty. "Mr. Ning, the building next to the river is Building A, followed by buildings B, C, D, and E. The silver egg-shaped building is the Yunj Club, which has restaurants, swimming pools, hot springs, leisure spas, gyms, various courts, and supermarkets. They can deliver to your home with just a phone call, and they are also responsible for running errands. If you want to buy anything, just give them a call. Feng Shui introduced everything to Ning Yuan in detail, and Ning Yuan was secretly amazed. I really want to let those who say that living abroad is life and living in China see that you simply don't have money, and you are just living wherever you go. You are in the Yunj Club. There are special dining seats, personal cloakrooms, rackets, clubs, etc. You can just show your room card when you go. In addition, your parking space is 001004. Listening to Feng Shui talking about all kinds of luxurious services, Ning Yuan gradually felt numb, until he remembered a question. By the way, how much are the various expenses each month? Feng Shui smiled slightly, 28,000. Ning Yuan suddenly had the urge to turn around and leave. He didn't make that much money from his part-time job this year. After a while, we arrived at Building A, and on the first floor was a magnificent lobby. Mr. Ning, this is your exclusive elevator. There is an exit only at your location. Use it by swiping your card. Feng Shui gave Ning Yuan an introduction and demonstration, and then they went all the way to the villa. After getting out of the elevator and passing through the function room, Feng Shui helped Ning Yuan enter his fingerprints and irises before entering the room. As soon as he entered, Ning Yuan was stunned. It's big. Really fucking big. So rich, so damn rich. Feng Shui was standing beside them, introducing with shining eyes. What about the rooftop 230 square meters infinity pool, 200 square meters balcony, 110 square meters floor-to-ceiling balcony window, 4 halls and 18 rooms, whole house intelligent constant temperature system, full smart home? Ning Yuan felt numb after listening to it. Many ordinary people are busy all their lives and may not even be able to afford a master bedroom. After all, a master bedroom is 170 square meters, which is larger than a 3-bedroom apartment in an ordinary community. Okay, stop talking. Ning Yuan came back to his senses and interrupted Feng Shui's introduction. Okay, Mr. Ning, do you have any other instructions? Feng Shui asked respectfully. No, you guys go out first. Okay. Feng Shui immediately took everyone out, and when Ning Yuan was the only one left in the huge living room, he sat down on the sofa and immediately felt as if he was sitting on clouds, extremely comfortable. He didn't know how long he was in a daze, but he finally came to his senses and walked to the balcony. The most prosperous area of the coast came into view. It's like a dream. After muttering something, Ning Yuan started to have fun. It took 2 full hours for the excitement to gradually fade away. Ning Yuan returned to the main hall on the first floor with sweat on his forehead. Looking at the huge and luxurious mansion, he suddenly felt a little uneasy. It's still daytime. If it were night, this uneasiness would probably be even stronger. It was so big that Ning Yuan felt that the house would be very lively at night, with people hiding under the bed, faces squeezed in the cloakroom, hands stretched out in the bathroom, and the sound of splashing in the swimming pool. Ning Yuan couldn't help but get goosebumps and realized with a smile that he might not dare to live here alone. Just then, the cell phone suddenly rang, scaring him. Only when he saw that it was Han Xiao calling did he calm down. Hey, Xiao. Han Xiao's voice was full of ill intentions. Ning Yuan, you are amazing. You just broke up yesterday, and you have a new love today. Ning Yuan was stunned. What new love? You still don't admit it. I saw it all. Han Xiao gritted her teeth and said, when did you and Zhang Na become so close? You were so close to each other when taking a photo. Oh, you mean that photo? Ning Yuan laughed. I thought it was a strange thing. I just happened to meet her. She said I was famous and wanted to take a photo with her, so I took one. Does it really need to be so close? Eh? Ning Yuan exclaimed softly, you look a little weird. Are you jealous? Why would I be jealous? I'm just concerned about your relationship status as a brother. Ning Yuan fell into deep thought. Brother? This brother's body is really hot. Okay, you're not looking for me just for this, are you? Of course not. Where are you? Ning Yuan looked around, looking for a house. Don't look for a house yet, come find me. What? Come here and let me see your new look. Ning Yuan was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. After asking where Han Xiao was, he hung up the phone. Afterwards, he took some photos of various places in the mansion, opened the Binhai City Service network, registered an account, and posted rental information. There are so many rooms. If I live in them all by myself, wouldn't that be a waste? Ning Yuan lay on the sofa, smacked his lips and said, "How about calling Daze Wang and Shenzi over? Good brothers should share happiness together." Chapter 15. Who allowed you to touch her? But if they knew that I have a luxury house in addition to luxury cars, would they feel unbalanced and want to strangle me to death? Ning Yuan touched his neck and decided not to tell them for the time being, so he took out his cell phone and called a car over. After a while, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan stopped downstairs of the mansion. Ning Yuan was shocked when he thought of Han Xiaoqiao waving her little fist in the music classroom that day. He quickly stepped on the accelerator and drove towards Han Xiaoqiao's location. After rushing all their way, they finally arrived downstairs of Han Xiaoqiao's building within 20 minutes. Before Ning Yuan could park the car, he saw Han Xiaoqiao standing at the entrance of the building with her hands on her hips. The little mouth was pouted high, looking unhappy. "Hey! Xiaoqiao! Why are you so diligent today and even come downstairs to greet me in person?" Ning Yuan opened the car door and walked down with a smile. Han Xiaoqiao was wearing a red tight skirt today. The tight fabric perfectly outlined her curvy figure. "Don't you even check what time it is?" Ning Yuan took out his cell phone and looked at it, then asked in confusion. "What happened at 5:30? My cousin and the others are already here. We haven't even set out yet." Hearing Han Xiaoqiao's slightly complaining voice, Ning Yuan remembered that he had promised her to go have dinner with his cousin today. Thinking of this, Ning Yuan slapped his forehead. He had been concentrating on looking at houses just now. This matter has really been forgotten. "I'm so sorry, I forgot." Han Xiaoqiao pursed her lips in displeasure but didn't say much. She opened the passenger door and got in. The Westin Hotel. Ning Yuan quickly got in the car and drove towards the Westin Hotel. In the car, Ning Yuan looked at the scene on the road carefully. At this moment, it is the peak time for getting off work. But the strange thing is that there was no car next to Ning Yuan's car, and even the 2 lanes on the side were almost empty. "Oh my god, this is weird, what's going on?" In the past, if you took a taxi at this time, it would probably take more than 10 minutes to get to an intersection. But today, there was not a single car on the road. The traffic conditions were surprisingly good, except for the distant lanes which were extremely congested. But Ning Yuan didn't care about these things and just drove as quickly as possible. Han Xiaoqiao, who was sitting in the passenger seat, kept staring at Ning Yuan. Until a traffic light intersection. Ning Yuan stopped the car, looked at Han Xiaoqiao and then looked at himself in the mirror. "Is there something wrong with me?" Han Xiaoqiao nodded seriously and said, "Sure enough, after dressing up, she looks much better than before, and also much better than in the photo just now." "You've dressed up again, haven't you?" Ning Yuan rolled his eyes when he saw Han Xiaoqiao's question. "Fuck, what's that look in your eyes? I'm already handsome, okay." When Han Xiaoqiao heard this, she was so angry that she stretched out her hand and twisted Ning Yuan's waist. Ning Yuan cried out in pain. Han Xiaoqiao withdrew her hand, turned her head and looked out the window. Ning Yuan rubbed his waist and said to himself, "This girl looks so petite, but she is so powerful when she fights. This is simply a cute version of Nezer in full body." The car soon arrived at the entrance of the Westin Hotel. Arrive. As soon as the car stopped, the hotel security rushed over. "Welcome to the Westin Hotel, sir. Well, please stop the car for me." After Ning Yuan finished speaking, he was ready to get off the car, but the security guard looked hesitant when he heard it. "Oh, your car is a bit too expensive. I'm afraid no one here dares to drive it." Hearing this, Ning Yuan felt a little depressed for a moment. It seems that sometimes, having a car that is too expensive is not a good thing. "Then let's find a parking space ourselves." Han Xiaoqiao on the side spoke, opened the car door and got out. Seeing this, the security guard looked apologetic. "This is a Rolls-Royce. Stop the car in case something happens. Not only will you not get any tips, you might even have to sell your house. No one dares to make this kind of bet." The security guard waved goodbye to Ning Yuan from afar. Ning Yuan started driving slowly, looking for Han Xiaoqiao. "I drove into the underground parking lot but still couldn't find Han Xiaoqiao. I don't know where this girl went to find a parking space." Ning Yuan looked around for a while before he heard a noise coming from not far away. "Hey! This is the parking spot I found first. Get away from me now. Get out of the way. Ning Yuan immediately made his judgment when he heard it. This familiar voice belonged to Han Xiaoqiao. Ning Yuan didn't bother to find a parking space at this moment. He just opened the car door and rushed out. Han Xiaoqiao was alone, facing for burly men. A Land Rover was parked behind the four people. Looking at the direction of the car's front, it was most likely a dispute over a parking space. Xiaoqiao, stand behind me. Ning Yuan took a step forward and pulled Han Xiaoqiao, who had rolled up her sleeves, behind him. Yoha? A hero saving a beautiful girl. Several big men raised their chins. Let me tell you, I was the first one to see this parking space today. Since the girl behind you has caused trouble, she can forget about it. If you want to be a hero and save the damsel in distress, HMPH. Several big men waved their fists, meaning to warn Ning Yuan. But Ning Yuan did not retreat and still blocked Han Xiaoqiao behind him. Ning Yuan. Han Xiaoqiao's voice sounded behind Ning Yuan. This was the first time she was protected by him like this. For a moment, Han Xiaoqiao was a little uncomfortable. You little brat, we'll give you one last chance. Either get out of here or give up your parking space and let the girl behind you get in the car and apologize to us, and then this matter will be over. After saying this, several people had sinister smiles on their faces. Ning Yuan frowned and glanced at the Land Rover behind him. Although Ning Yuan doesn't know much about cars, he can tell that this car should be a top-of-the-line one. If it were taken out, it would probably be a car worth more than 1 million yuan. If it were in the past, Ning Yuan might have chosen to fight with a few big men. But now, Ning Yuan touched the key in his pocket. Take action. No, no, no. Now is an era of rule of law, and we must be reasonable in everything. How can you have the confidence to pick up girls when you drive a crappy Land Rover worth over 1 million yuan? Ning Yuan's words hit several people's hearts directly. This car was indeed rented by a few of them. I originally wanted to show off my wealth and power to scare a few young girls who were inexperienced. Unexpectedly, Ning Yuan showed up halfway. A big man looked Ning Yuan up and down. Kid. Don't talk nonsense. Be careful of your tongue being blown away by the wind. After saying that, a man began to walk towards Ning Yuan. Chapter 16 Becoming a Father for No Reason. Ning Yuan was just about to take action when the system's voice suddenly rang in his mind. Ding, start the God level selection system. Option 1, rescue the person and defeat him by force. The reward is a 15-day trip to a small dark room with food and lodging. Option 2, turn around and run away. Reward, a pair of high-end limited edition running shoes. Option 3, occupy the parking space, convince others with reason. Reward, intermediate fighting skills. After listening to the system's voice, Ning Yuan raised his eyebrows. Is it necessary to choose something like this? Is there any need to choose? Today, I have reserved this parking space. Ning Yuan's words immediately shocked the big man who was walking towards him. These words are not serious when spoken, and they don't matter when heard. However, it always gives people a stronger sense of insult. Stinky boy, can you say that again? The big man frowned and clenched his hands tightly together. It looks like they are ready to take action. Han Xiaoqiao also saw this scene and hurriedly squeezed forward to Ning Yuan, but was pulled back by Ning Yuan. Just stand behind me today. Ning Yuan looked into Han Xiaoqiao's eyes with a firm look in his eyes. Han Xiaoqiao was stunned by what she saw. Her mind went blank and she could only nod stupidly. After saying that, he turned around and looked at the big man. I said, today, I have reserved this parking space. Ning Yuan spoke word by word. The parking space was originally seen by someone else. How dare you, four of you, bully a girl? Do you have any shame? Driving a broken Land Rover, who do you think you are? At the same time, the system's voice sounded in my mind. Ding, system reward, intermediate fighting technique. At this moment, quite a few people had gathered around, and some even started recording videos with their cell phones. If there weren't so many people around, the big man would definitely punch him in the face. The big man suppressed the anger in his heart. Broken car? Do you believe I dare to smash your broken car? A smile appeared on Ning Yuan's lips. Good. This was the sentence he was waiting for. Well, what if you don't dare to smash it? The big man stared at Ning Yuan. If I hadn't smashed your car today, I would have been your son. Ning Yuan raised his eyebrows. He wants him to be a father again. Wow, what's wrong with this guy? However, since the other party was eager to be his son, he couldn't refuse, so Ning Yuan nodded heavily. Okay, it's settled. After saying that, Ning Yuan turned around and drove. The four big men stood there. Just now, a few people looked at Ning Yuan and thought that he was driving a BBA worth more than 400,000 yuan at most. There is no comparison with $1 million car. Even one person shouted something when Ning Yuan was leaving. Boy, just don't run away. Several people stood there, but their eyes began to look at Han Xiaoqiao, who was standing in front of them. But they soon discovered something was wrong. Why does Han Xiaoqiao have such a strange expression? It looks like he's laughing. Just as the leading man was about to speak, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan slowly turned around the corner and drove towards them. The four of them quickly moved aside to make room, but they didn't expect that the Rolls-Royce would just stop next to them. Bang! The door of the cab was opened and a familiar figure walked down. The four of them immediately looked towards the man's face. Hiss! The four of them gasped at the same time. Even the people who were recording the video were shocked. Ning Yuan clapped his hands and pointed at the car with his chin. Go ahead, four of you. After saying that, he leaned against the car with a relaxed look on his face. Land Rover versus Rolls-Royce. Damn. Stop making trouble. Isn't this just courting death? The four big men looked at each other and stood there, motionless. Why don't you make a move? You just said that if you don't dare to smash it, you are mine. Ning Yuan deliberately provoked the other party. The big man standing in the front clenched his fists tightly and was shaking with anger. Shut up. After saying that, he walked towards the Rolls-Royce. After taking a few steps, he stopped where he was, motionless. The value of this Rolls-Royce can be easily guessed with your feet. Not to mention him, even if all four of them were sold, it probably wouldn't be enough to buy this car. Get started. TSK, why are you so scared? Hurry up. We're waiting to record. Or, just kneel down and call me daddy. From time to time, bursts of ridicule could be heard from all around. This scene made the big man so angry that his face turned blue. Finally, he couldn't help but throw a punch at Ning Yuan. Another person who reacted quickly also rushed towards Han Xiaoqiao. Asshole! I'd better beat you up. The big man roared and rushed towards Ning Yuan. Han Xiaoqiao immediately ran to Ning Yuan's side. I thought the punch would hit Ning Yuan in the face right away, but Ning Yuan turned his head slightly and dodged it. At the same time, he squatted down, clenched his right fist, and punched the big man hard in the stomach. With intermediate fighting skills, both the strength and technique are much better than before. Ning Yuan knocked the big man back several steps with one punch, and he fell to the ground gasping for breath. At the same time, Ning Yuan quickly turned back, wanting to protect Han Xiaoqiao. Unexpectedly, the fist that was swinging towards her face was tightly grasped by Han Xiaoqiao. Then he turned around and used the force of the opponent's twist to force the big man to stop immediately. But Han Xiaoqiao did not give up. Instead, he grabbed the big man's wrist with both hands, exerted force with his waist, and threw the big man to the ground with an over-the-shoulder throw. Then there was a click. The big man let out a howl like a pig being slaughtered. This scene was so smooth and flowing that Ning Yuan drooled. He is indeed a black belt. This little girl. It's really strong. After the fight, Han Xiaoqiao clapped her hands and looked at the two people in front of her with an unsatisfied look. Asshole, you dare to hit me. Just wait. After saying that, he took out his cell phone from his arms and dialed a number. Hello? Brother Ran, someone hit me. Good. Well. After saying that, the big man put down his phone and looked up at Ning Yuan. My boss is Xiao Ran, what's your name? When Ning Yuan heard Xiao Ran's name, he raised his eyebrows. Tell him I'm Ning Yuan. The big man picked up the phone and quickly spoke to the person on the other end. Brother Ran, he said his name is Ning Yuan. Hello? Brother Ran. Hello. The big man looked at his phone and found that Xiao Ran had hung up the call. Ning Yuan. Are you the singing Ning Yuan from the internet? Is it really you, Ning Yuan? Ning Yuan. Let's at each other as friends. Several girls began to rush towards Ning Yuan. Seeing Ning Yuan's popularity, the four men were stunned and looked at each other. Chapter 17. I treat you as a brother, and you want to have sex with me? Taking advantage of Ning Yuan's inattention, a few people got into the car and drove away. A few of them had heard a little about Ning Yuan's popularity. If Xiaoran didn't have some experience, the four of them wouldn't have been his bodyguards. But I didn't expect that today would be a failure. The first thing he met was Ning Yuan, who was better than Xiaoran. When Ning Yuan saw them leaving, he parked the car in the parking space. Brother Ning Yuan, let's leave our phone numbers. Ning Yuan, do you have a girlfriend? Do you think I can do it? The girls under the car still followed him unwillingly. Ning Yuan was speechless for a moment and quickly pulled Han Xiaoqiao into their hotel. After running for a long time until there was no one chasing him anymore, Ning Yuan finally breathed a sigh of relief and leaned against the wall of the hotel, gasping for breath. When he looked up again, Han Xiaoqiao was looking at him with a smile. I never knew you had such a brave side. It was not difficult to hear from Han Xiaoqiao's voice that she still appreciated Ning Yuan's behavior just now. Ning Yuan cleared his throat and straightened his back. A man like me will naturally not let the women around me get hurt at all. Ning Yuan was still arrogant, with his chin raised to the sky. He put on an extremely noble attitude. Han Xiaoqiao didn't speak for a long time. Ning Yuan lowered his head again and found that Han Xiaoqiao's face was flushed. Ning Yuan was stunned for a moment. No, it's not. Damn. This looks like shyness no matter how you look at it. Etc. Didn't we agree to be brothers? Could it be that I treat you as a brother? You actually want to fuck me? Thinking of this, Ning Yuan quickly shook his head. Even if this idea is true, it seems it's not such a big disadvantage. There was a bud of innocence stirring in Ning Yuan's heart. A sly smile appeared on Ning Yuan's lips. What the hell are you thinking? Han Xiaoqiao punched Ning Yuan on the head, instantly bringing him back to reality. Ning Yuan rubbed the place where he was hit and looked at Han Xiaoqiao with grievance. Han Xiaoqiao raised her head proudly, and the blush on her face faded a lot. Let's go quickly, my cousin will be worried soon. As soon as she finished speaking, Han Xiaoqiao led the way. Ning Yuan nodded and followed Han Xiaoqiao into the elevator. As soon as he came out, Ning Yuan saw Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shin waiting at the elevator door. Hello. Ning Yuan waved his hand, and the two of them immediately looked as if they had seen a ghost, and they could not believe their eyes. Damn, are you really Lao Ning? Isn't this a huge change? This isn't just a change of appearance, this is a change of person. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shin said in astonishment. Upon hearing this, Han Xiaoqiao straightened her chest with pride and looked at Ning Yuan as if she was looking at a treasure. Sure enough, my vision was right, this guy turns out to be a handsome guy after dressing up. But when she thought about how this handsome guy suddenly became popular, Han Xiaoqiao felt depressed. The pigs I have raised for 4 years are suddenly targeted by butchers. How long have you been here? Ning Yuan asked with his hands in his pockets, but the answer he got was irrelevant. Lao Ning, what's wrong with you? It would cost about 1,800 yuan to change this outfit, right? That's right, why are you suddenly willing to spend this money? Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shin asked suspiciously. Han Xiaoqiao was also stunned for a moment, and then she became nervous. Could it be that he couldn't resist the temptation and did something to sell his soul? Sell your soul to me. How can I let the good things go to other people? Ning Yuan had already thought of an excuse, and said with a smile, You have graduated, how can you find a job if you don't dress up? I happen to have more than 10,000 yuan in savings, and I can even buy a new phone. As he spoke, he shook his new phone. That's right. It's not a big deal to have us protecting you at school, but you really can't be so casual when looking for a job. The three of them accepted this statement immediately. Han Xiaoqiao breathed a sigh of relief, at least she didn't sell her soul. Then she walked to Ning Yuan, put her arm around his, and raised her chin towards Da Zhuang and the other man. They immediately understood and took out their cell phones to take pictures. Ning Yuan was a little puzzled when he saw Han Xiaoqiao hanging on him and posing in various positions like a koala. What are you doing? Take a picture with you. After Han Xiaoqiao finished speaking, she waved her hand, and Zhao Dazhuang and the other man came running over. They gave her the photos to review. In the end, she picked out 9 photos and sent them to Ning Yuan. What is this for? Han Xiaoqiao smiled sweetly. Post it on Jubo, now, immediately, right away. Forehead. As soon as Ning Yuan hesitated, Han Xiaoqiao's eyes immediately showed murderous intent. I send it. Ning Yuanshan is a man of great knowledge and wisdom, and posted the photos on Jubo. As expected, the comment section immediately became lively. What's going on? He has a girlfriend. No way, wasn't it just yesterday that someone played with my feelings? Of course not. Look how close these two are. Who would believe me if I said they have nothing to do with me? Han Xiaoqiao flipped through the comments and couldn't help but raise the corner of her mouth with pride. Then she made a comment herself and turned to Ning Yuan and said, "Hurry up and pin my comment to the top." Ning Yuan found her comment and felt a little amused. Hate it, I said I wouldn't post it. Ning Yuan casually pinned the phone to the top and waved it at Han Xiaoqiao. Is that all right? Yeah, that was a good performance. What are you trying to do? Ning Yuan raised his eyebrows and asked, do you want others to think you are my girlfriend? Han Xiaoqiao's expression froze, and then she pretended to be nonchalant and said, yes, I'll keep an eye on you so that you won't be fascinated by a bitch like Li Shen again. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen looked at each other and huddled together to whisper. Why don't we drug them? I can't stand watching this any longer. I think it's a good idea. You buy the medicine and I'll buy the lock. After we give them the medicine, we'll lock them in a room. Okay, how much is the medicine? It is said that the good effect is 800 per pill. Zhao Dazhuang was silent for 2 seconds, then you should buy the medicine. I have no money. That's fine. I can still bear it. Zhao Dazhuang regained his serious composure and turned his head away. Lin Shen was speechless for a while. At this time, Han Xiaoqiao's cell phone rang. Hey cousin, we'll go upstairs right away. After hanging up the phone, she waved, let's go, my cousin is urging us, let's go upstairs and have a big meal. When he pushed open the door of the private room, Ning Yuan was shocked by the luxurious scene inside. There was a sumptuous meal on the table, including abalone, lobster, and all kinds of delicacies from land and sea. Just by looking at it, you can tell it must be expensive. What's even more frightening is the person sitting inside. Originally, Ning Yuan thought that judging from Han Xiaoqiao's size and behavior, her cousin must be a decisive and efficient lady. But when he saw his cousin, Ning Yuan was stunned. She is petite, less than 1.6 meters tall, with a baby face and fluffy chestnut hair. She looks a bit cute. When standing next to Han Xiaoqiao, she looks more like a younger sister. A younger sister who is still underage. Hello, my name is Han Yu, I'm 25 years old. Han Yu seemed to be aware that her appearance did not match her age and specifically emphasized the age issue. Hello cousin, I'm Ning Yuan, this is Zhao Dazhuang, and that one is Lin Shen. I know. Xiaoqiao often mentions you to me. Han Yu said this and walked around Ning Yuan several times as if she was looking at a rare animal. Finally, she stood next to Han Xiaoqiao and nodded seriously. Xiaoqiao, you have good taste, it's a top notch. Ning Yuan and the others were stunned when they heard it. Han Xiaoqiao's face flushed, she nudged her cousin with her elbow, then glared and said, what? My cousin praised you as a good candidate. Han Yu blinked, as if she understood something, and nodded seriously, yes, that's what I mean, Ning Yuan, you have the potential to be very famous. Come, let's sit down and talk. Seeing the table full of red meat, Zhao Dazhuang deliberately raised his eyebrows at Lin Shen, and Lin Shen quickly sat over. Only Han Xiaoqiao and Ning Yuan were left sitting next to each other. Xiaoqiao, please sit down. Han Yu signaled with her eyes, and then the two of them took their seats. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen ignored the irrelevant conversation and focused on eating. But Ning Yuan was targeted by Han Yu. Your appearance is beyond my expectation. Xiaoqiao is so surprised. Han Yu's foot was stepped on. She immediately changed the subject. In short, you are very good. And your eyes are very distinctive. No wonder Xiaoqiao is so surprised. Han Xiaoqiao gave Han Yu a piece of meat with a fake smile. Cousin, don't be impatient, talk slowly. Well, anyway, your face alone is enough to get you into the circle, and with your current popularity, you can reap good results with just a little effort. Take Xiao Ran as an example, his popularity when he won the talent show championship was not as high as yours. Han Yu said seriously with a straight face, you have the looks, the popularity, and your creative talent. As long as you agree to join Guangying Entertainment, we are sure to push you to the position of a popular idol. How do you think? Chapter 18. You got me drunk. We talked about signing the contract right after we sat down, which was a bit sudden. After listening to this, Ning Yuan shook his head and smiled. Cousin, forget about this matter, I don't have that idea. Han Yu coughed twice and was about to continue speaking when she saw Han Xiaoqiao pick up a large shrimp from the table and put it into her bowl. Cousin, eat quickly. Don't you usually like eating shrimp? Seeing this, Zhao Dazhuang also picked up a piece of cut tomahawk steak from the plate. Come, Lao Ning, eat. Ning Yuan looked at Zhao Dazhuang with a dark face, then looked at the steak in his bowl. The steak looked about medium rare, with some blood in it. Ning Yuan frowned but said nothing. Han Xiaoqiao took the steak and forced a smile towards Ning Yuan. It's okay. If you're not used to it, I'll eat it. As he said that, he stretched out his chopsticks and took the meat from Ning Yuan's bowl. But Ning Yuan discovered that there was a hint of loss in Han Xiaoqiao's eyes. Ning Yuan, you. Han Yu took the opportunity to raise her glass and looked at Ning Yuan again. But he was interrupted again by Han Xiaoqiao. Cousin, don't you have something to do tonight? Eat quickly and don't waste time. Han Yu was slightly stunned when she heard this, but then she realized that this didn't give her any chance at all. After a while, Han Yu's cell phone rang. Han Yu took out a tissue, nodded gently, said hello to everyone, and left the private room with her bag. Call. Zhao Dazhuang breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Han Yu go out. Oh, I'm finally relieved. Old Ning, you don't know how nervous I was just now. Usually, we have 4 people eating together. I'm not used to having another person come out of nowhere. Lin Shen slowly added a handful of meat. Really? Why didn't I feel that? Fuck, Lao Lin, just stop talking. Your kidneys are almost shared, but mine are still in their infancy. How can they be the same? As he spoke, Zhao Dazhuang rolled his eyes at Lin Shen. If you ask me, you don't need to be so ignorant about your kidney. I guess if you take it out, it won't be as big as a quail egg. Damn it. Lao Lin. What did you say? Be careful when you graduate, your kidneys won't be able to support you anymore. You two really are. Looking at the 2 people playing in front of him, Ning Yuan relaxed a lot and started eating with big mouthfuls. It would be nonsense to say that I wasn't nervous just now. Xiaoqiao. When Ning Yuan turned around, he saw Han Xiaoqiao beside him, chewing a piece of beef with her head down. I don't know if it's the meat's problem or Han Xiaoqiao's problem. I spent most of the day chewing a piece of meat. Hearing Ning Yuan's voice, Han Xiaoqiao raised her head, swallowed what was in her mouth, and put on a smiling face. Oh? What's wrong? Others might not notice it, but Ning Yuan and Han Xiaoqiao have known each other for a long time, and he could tell at a glance that the smile was forced. Xiaoqiao, what's on your mind? Ning Yuan asked softly, his voice becoming much gentler. Han Xiaoqiao shook her head and raised her glass. Come on, after we graduate, we will have fewer opportunities to eat like this. As she spoke, Han Xiaoqiao's voice was choked with sobs. Lin Shen and Zhao Dazhuang looked at each other and immediately understood what Han Xiaoqiao was thinking. I guess everyone knows the feelings she has for Ning Yuan, except Ning Yuan himself. In fact, when Ning Yuan confessed his love to Li Shen that day, Han Xiaoqiao cried all night. Han Xiaoqiao was very happy when she heard that the 2 had broken up. Come, have a drink. Zhao Dazhuang pulled Lin Shen and raised their glasses together. Come on, Lao Ning, have a drink. Ning Yuan also raised his glass. When it comes to drinking, Ning Yuan is really not very good. Especially after the hangover experience last time, Ning Yuan was more disciplined this time. God knows if these 2 guys will throw him into a woman's bed again today. When the 4 of them raised their heads to drink, Lin Shen and Zhao Dazhuang were secretly exchanging glances. With years of tacit understanding, the 2 of them raised their eyebrows at the same time and immediately knew each other's plan. Lao Ning, we have been in college for so long, and you have never told us about your background. How come you suddenly have a luxury car? Zhao Dazhuang pretended to be depressed and looked at Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan didn't know how to answer for a moment. You can't say it's given by the system. If there were other reasons, I would have said almost everything I needed to say last time. The 4 of them are brothers. If it weren't for the system reasons, Ning Yuan really wouldn't want to hide it from them. Actually, as Ning Yuan opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Zhao Dazhuang. Okay, Lao Ning, you don't need to say anything more. Just have a drink. It's all in the wine. I believe in you. Sometimes, this sentence really works best between men. Ning Yuan picked up the glass and clinked it with Zhao Dazhuang, then raised his head and drank the wine in the glass. Seeing this, Lin Shen quickly filled a glass of wine and gestured to Lin Shen. Ning Yuan, come here. Ning Yuan just put down his wine glass, but looking at Lin Shen's sincere eyes, he didn't want to ruin the friendship between brothers. He had no choice but to pour himself another glass of wine and clinked it in Lin Shen's direction. Then he looked up and took a sip. He had just drunk a glass of wine, and then another one came. Ning Yuan forced himself to drink only half a glass of wine. But as soon as it was placed on the table, Zhao Dazhuang next to it became unhappy. Damn it, Lao Ning, are you raising goldfish? Ning Yuan looked at his wine glass, which was still half full. When I looked at Lin Shen again, his cup was empty. Okay, I'll drink it. Ning Yuan smiled, picked up the glass and drank all the remaining wine. Watching this scene, Lin Shen and Zhao Dazhuang looked at each other, their eyes full of pride. Lao Ning, I've decided these 2 days that after graduation, I'll stay here for a while. Zhao Dazhuang looked at Ning Yuan seriously. Ning Yuan felt somewhat happy at this moment. Since they are not leaving, then they are not far away from each other, and it will be easier to meet each other on weekdays. That's good. This time, Ning Yuan raised his glass first. Come on, Zhuang, we'll have to see each other more often from now on. After saying that, Ning Yuan and Zhao Dazhuang took the initiative to clink glasses, raised their heads, and drank it all in one gulp. Zhao Dazhuang also drank their wine in the glass in one gulp. After drinking 3 glasses of wine in a row and very quickly, Ning Yuan was already a little drunk. Lao Ning, why don't you take me with you? What, you don't welcome me? Lin Shen on the side had an unhappy expression on his face. Ning Yuan quickly slapped his forehead and poured himself another drink. Come on, Lin Shen, I'll toast you a glass. Lin Shen raised his glass and drank it as well. Just like this, after a few times, the scene in front of Ning Yuan's eyes began to slowly become blurred. Even when I got up to go to the bathroom, I was a little shaky. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen looked at each other, hurried over to help, and even brought a bottle. It is euphemistically called a smooth drink. The more you drink it, the more energetic you will feel. Ning Yuan was already a little dizzy at this moment and didn't know what he had drunk. Lin Shen and Zhao Dazhuang on the side also drank 1 cup after another. Ning Yuan was fed until he passed out, and then he was brought back. Han Xiaoqiao was sitting there feeling a little sad. When she saw Ning Yuan being dragged back, she immediately felt a little distressed. What's going on? Han Xiaoqiao ignored everything else for the moment and walked forward and gently patted Ning Yuan's shoulder. But Ning Yuan didn't react at all. Xiaoqiao, Lao Ning seems a little sad and has drunk a little too much. Let's go back today. Han Xiaoqiao was about to speak when Lin Shen on the side spoke again. Yes, Xiaoqiao, let's leave him at your house first. Otherwise, it will be inconvenient for us to take care of him. When Han Xiaoqiao thought of the last time when Ning Yuan woke up beside her after drinking too much, 2 blushes immediately appeared on her face. Chapter 19, Dad, give the girl a smile. Okay, I'll go check out first. Han Xiaoqiao didn't know what to say, so she quickly packed up and went out to ask the waiter for the bill. Lin Shen and Zhao Dazhuang on the side just packed up the things Ning Yuan brought. Let's go, Lao Ning, you're really damn heavy. Lin Shen was not as strong as Zhao Dazhuang, and basically all of his weight was on Zhao Dazhuang. Come on, this way, don't wander around, Lao Ning. Oops. Zhao Dazhuang supported Ning Yuan and walked for a long time before they reached the end of the corridor. Han Xiaoqiao had also finished paying the bill and came back to help support Ning Yuan. Although he looks thin and frail, he actually has considerable strength. It took the 3 of them nearly an hour to get Ning Yuan to Han Xiaoqiao's bed. Oh my god. As soon as Zhao Dazhuang and the other man let go, Ning Yuan lay directly on Han Xiaoqiao's bed. Okay, Xiaoqiao, that's fine, we'll leave first. Han Xiaoqiao was about to reach out to stop the 2 of them, but Lin Shen suddenly said, It's okay, Xiaoqiao, just take good care of Lao Ning. After Zhao Dazhuang finished speaking, he deliberately nodded to Han Xiaoqiao. Xiaoqiao, you understand. As he said this, he winked at Han Xiaoqiao. Han Xiaoqiao was stunned for a moment, then she understood what Zhao Dazhuang meant, and a blush immediately appeared on her two fair little faces. Okay, we'll be leaving first. Lin Shen quickly pushed Zhao Dazhuang, urging him to leave quickly. Although Zhao Dazhuang is usually a bit dull, he was surprisingly sensible this time. Before leaving, he nodded heavily to Han Xiaoqiao. That scene was as solemn as if Ning Yuan's entire life was being entrusted to someone else. I'm leaving. The two of them waved their hands and slammed Han Xiaoqiao's door shut. Suddenly, the drunk Ning Yuan and Han Xiaoqiao were the only ones left in the room. Looking at Ning Yuan's even breathing, Han Xiaoqiao was a little confused for a moment. After a long time, Han Xiaoqiao gently lifted the quilt, leaving space for half of the bed. The next day, early in the morning. The sun was particularly scorching after 10 o'clock. The sun was shining on Ning Yuan's body, and he grabbed something white and covered his eyes with it. Ning Yuan rubbed his dizzy forehead and glanced around unconsciously. Damn it! Why is it that familiar bear again? When he looked again, what he was holding in his hand was clearly the pajamas that Han Xiaoqiao wore last time. What is going on? Ning Yuan suddenly felt dizzy and all the other things were just empty talk. Han Xiaoqiao's legs were lazily resting on his body. Han Xiaoqiao was sleeping soundly with a trace of saliva at the corner of her mouth. Ning Yuan took a deep breath and gently lifted a small corner of the quilt. Ning Yuan suddenly felt a little dizzy. This time, it wasn't because he was drunk. But I feel a little dizzy due to high blood pressure. Ning Yuan. Han Xiaoqiao, who was sleeping soundly nearby, rubbed her eyes and sat up after hearing the sound. However, when Han Xiaoqiao sat up, Ning Yuan was really scared. Put that on first. Ning Yuan quickly took the clothes in his hand and threw them on Han Xiaoqiao. I thought Han Xiaoqiao would be able to put on her clothes quickly, but unexpectedly, after a while, I heard Han Xiaoqiao's aggrieved voice. Why are you like this? Listening to Han Xiaoqiao's words, Ning Yuan opened his eyes slightly. The scene before him made Ning Yuan close his eyes tightly again. Xiaoqiao, put on your clothes first. After a while, Ning Yuan heard the sound of crying. Ning Yuan opened his eyes and saw Han Xiaoqiao crying while holding her clothes in grievance. This was also the first time Ning Yuan saw a girl cry so honestly. For a moment, I was actually a little overwhelmed. Xiaoqiao, don't cry. Suddenly, several bad premonitions emerged in Ning Yuan's mind. This scene usually appears in movies and TV dramas, where the girl meets a scumbag who makes a mistake and refuses to admit it. Etc. 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 Ning Yuan suddenly felt overwhelmed. Not really. Ning Yuan didn't dare to think the worst thought in his heart. Could it be? Han Xiaoqiao punched Ning Yuan in the chest. Asshole. You still refuse to admit it. Ning Yuan looked around the room in confusion, then looked at himself under the quilt. Thinking back again, the pajamas were in his hand just now. Suddenly, Ning Yuan's heart skipped a beat. Is it true? Yes, I did. You drank too much last night and you don't remember what you did. Are you? Ning Yuan opened his mouth wide, pointed at himself, and then pointed at Han Xiaoqiao opposite him. Yes, it was you last night. How come I didn't notice that you changed your expression so quickly? No, no. No, what do you mean by no? Look at you. You don't seem to be willing to admit your mistake at all. Woo woo. Han Xiaoqiao felt more and more aggrieved as she spoke, and she started crying while hugging the quilt. It would have been fine if he hadn't cried, but after crying, Ning Yuan felt even more guilty. Xiaoqiao, Han Xiaoqiao punched Ning Yuan again. You are such a heartless man. After saying that, she turned her back to Ning Yuan angrily, snorted, and never looked back. Ning Yuan pinched his philtrum tightly. As the saying goes, don't cheat on your brother's wife. But what is Ning Yuan doing? He slept with his own brother. Ning Yuan tried hard to recall everything that happened yesterday in his mind. The first thing I remembered was the scene when this little girl stood up for me when I parked the car. After thinking about it, he recalled the time when Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen were drinking. No. Wrong. Something must be wrong. That's it. Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen used any incident as an excuse to drink yesterday. You talked to me and I kept persuading myself to drink. Damn. It seems like these two guys are up to something bad. No, that's not right, Xiao Xiao. Didn't I black out yesterday because of drinking? Didn't I fall asleep right after I brought it here? Ning Yuan asked in a low voice, not daring to speak loudly. Hearing this, Han Xiaoqiao snorted coldly, grabbed her pajamas and put them on skillfully. Seeing this, Ning Yuan quickly closed his eyes, turned his head away, and dared not look. It's not that Ning Yuan doesn't want to see it. It's because this little girl's fighting ability is off the charts that I don't even dare to watch. If you look at this, you might break a bone. Forget it, it's really boring, get up. Han Xiaoqiao snorted, put on her pajamas, and stood in front of Ning Yuan. Xiao Yuanzi. Han Xiaoqiao stretched out her index finger and gently lifted Ning Yuan's chin. What are you doing? For a moment, Ning Yuan didn't dare to open his eyes and look at her. Master, give the girl a smile. Ning Yuan opened his eyes slightly after hearing the joke. Hey! Isn't this my brother Xiao Xiao? Ning Yuan quickly found a way to escape. By the way, why am I sleeping here? Ning Yuan looked around the room and it was still as clean as ever. Han Xiaoqiao tidied her clothes and jumped off the bed. You were drunk yesterday, so Da Zhuang and Lin Shen brought you here. You know everything that happened afterwards. As she spoke, Han Xiaoqiao pointed at Ning Yuan with her chin. I didn't wear anything with you yesterday. Hearing Ning Yuan's stammering words, Han Xiaoqiao's face turned red for a moment. You slept like a dead pig all night. After Han Xiaoqiao finished speaking, she quickly turned around and gently touched her red little face with the back of her hand. After hearing these words, Ning Yuan finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fine. Fortunately, I didn't do anything excessive. That's good, I'll pack up now and go back first. Before Ning Yuan could finish his words, Han Xiaoqiao threw herself in front of him. The two people's noses were almost touching. Back home. Chapter 20 Brotherhood. Simple? Ning Yuan quickly took 2 steps back. I looked at this little girl like this last time, and she got punished badly. But Ning Yuan still nodded quickly. Want to leave? Then go ahead, anyway. Han Xiaoqiao snorted and deliberately kept the second half of the sentence to herself. Ning Yuan quickly came to Han Xiaoqiao's side. Xiaoqiao, okay Xiaoqiao, just tell me, what is it? Han Xiaoqiao saw that Ning Yuan had a good attitude, so she glanced at him and said. I kept you here because of a little trick. If you don't want to stay here, you can leave at any time. Having said that, he turned his head and looked to the side. Looking at Han Xiaoqiao's arrogant look, Ning Yuan couldn't help but burst out laughing. Okay, I won't leave. I'll stay here. Ning Yuan stood up and patted Han Xiaoqiao's shoulder gently. But Han Xiaoqiao still looked unmoved and stood there without moving. Ning Yuan quickly used all his special skills and tried to persuade the opponent with both soft and hard methods. Han Xiaoqiao finally calmed down a little and said something. Put your pants on quickly. After saying that, he walked out of the house. Ning Yuan sat on the bed, quickly put on all his clothes, picked up his cell phone, and found the cell phone numbers of Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Shen. You two guys, wait until I get back. Ning Yuan was complaining when bursts of fragrance came from the direction of the kitchen. Fried eggs. Sausages. With a ding, the smell of toast wafted in. Ning Yuan originally wanted to be patient and wait until noon to eat, but his stomach started to growl. Come out to eat. Han Xiaoqiao's voice was heard outside the house. Ning Yuan touched his stomach and took a deep breath of the delicious smell. Finally, I couldn't help it, so I stood up, opened the door and walked out. Looking at the food on the table, Ning Yuan swallowed his saliva and walked towards the table honestly. Han Xiaoqiao carefully made breakfast for Ning Yuan and glanced at Ning Yuan who was standing beside the table. Sit down. Han Xiaoqiao pointed at the stool. Ning Yuan was a little uncomfortable, but still sat down. Looking at the carefully prepared food on the table, Ning Yuan suddenly felt warm in his heart. Eat it. Han Xiaoqiao handed a sandwich to Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan took it in a daze and took a bite. This tastes really good. Have you found a house yet? Han Xiaoqiao asked as she applied the sauce. Ning Yuan was about to nod, but quickly shook his head. Then stay at my place. Ning Yuan's eyes suddenly widened, staring blankly at Han Xiao Xiao in front of him, and then looked inside the room, which was full of the scent of a girl. Damn. No way. A man and a woman alone in a room. This. Will you stay? Forget it if you don't want to. Han Xiao Xiao ate bread and glanced at Ning Yuan. Live. It's so nice to live here. Ning Yuan quickly smiled and looked around the room. Look, the smell in the house is pleasant, and there is also a prepared breakfast. Who wouldn't want to stay here with such good conditions? Ning Yuan looked at Han Xiao Xiao and quickly smiled obediently. Han Xiao Xiao had a cold face and handed Ning Yuan another sandwich, then turned her head and looked out the window. But Ning Yuan didn't notice that when Han Xiao Xiao turned her head, her eyes were full of smiles. Han Xiao Xiao took a deep breath, suppressed the excitement in her heart, and looked at the man in front of her. Ning Yuan was eating breakfast with his head down. Although it looks ordinary, it makes people fascinated. Xiao Xiao. Han Xiao Xiao came back to her senses after hearing Ning Yuan's shout. Realizing her own gaffe, Han Xiao Xiao coughed lightly in embarrassment. What's wrong? Ning Yuan looked at Han Xiao Xiao's cute appearance and reached out his hand to wipe the corner of Han Xiao Xiao's mouth. The moment Ning Yuan touched Han Xiao Xiao's body, she felt a shock as if she had been electrocuted. You? Ning Yuan wiped the ketchup on Han Xiao Xiao's mouth onto his fingertips and licked it. Well, I should put more sauce next time. Han Xiao Xiao's face was almost red to her neck, but when she heard Ning Yuan's masculine words, she immediately felt like a basin of cold water was poured over her heels. You? Under the table, Han Xiao Xiao clenched her fists. Every moment I wanted to punch Ning Yuan hard on the head and teach this guy a lesson about emotional intelligence. Eh? Xiao Xiao? What's wrong with you? Is there something wrong? Han Xiao Xiao looked at Ning Yuan with anger on her face. Really? Not enough ketchup, right? Looking at Han Xiao Xiao, whose eyes seemed to be almost emitting fire, Ning Yuan shuddered unconsciously all over. No, just right. Ning Yuan quickly apologized with a smile, based on his understanding of Han Xiao Xiao. If you don't give in now, you will have to change your posture and give in later. Just right. Isn't the sauce delicious? Han Xiao Xiao's face kept moving closer to Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan was so scared that he retreated step by step until he was against the wall. Ning Yuan was just about to dodge to the side. With a clang sound, Han Xiao Xiao kicked Ning Yuan directly in the face. Ning Yuan was trapped in the corner in a split-leg position. Is it not tasty? Han Xiao Xiao's voice floated out slowly from her throat. Ning Yuan nodded quickly and kept saying that it was delicious. It's delicious, especially delicious. I say, Xiao Xiao, let's put our legs down first. As he spoke, Ning Yuan stretched out his hand, and just when he touched Han Xiao Xiao's leg, he suddenly thought of the leg that was resting on his body when he woke up. Ning Yuan's eyes suddenly became a little shy. Han Xiao Xiao seemed to have noticed something from Ning Yuan's eyes, and she blushed and quickly returned to the table to sit down and continue eating. She also stuck out her pink tongue and tried it at her mouth. The taste. Isn't it just ordinary ketchup? Is it that delicious? Han Xiao Xiao cleared her throat and looked up at Ning Yuan, who was still in a daze. Come back and sit down. Oh, by the way, you can live here from today on. I will prepare food for you every day. After Han Xiao Xiao finished speaking, she smiled at Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan was startled by this smile. What the hell is this smile for out of nowhere? Aren't we brothers? You? Ning Yuan really didn't dare to say the second half of the sentence. Aren't we brothers? You don't want to sleep with me? Ning Yuan knew immediately that after he said this, he would probably be covered in plaster. Even though he now has intermediate fighting skills, this little girl easily threw a big man to the ground yesterday. With that strength, even advanced fighting techniques might not be his match. I took you in purely out of brotherhood, don't think too much about it. Han Xiao Xiao was rarely shy in front of Ning Yuan. Brotherhood. Simple. Chapter 21, Creating a Public Opinion Storm. Yeah. Pure. Brotherly love. Han Xiao Xiao took a big bite of the bread and looked at Ning Yuan with her big round eyes. Ning Yuan felt slightly relieved after hearing these two words. Okay, then I'll live here. After saying that, Ning Yuan smiled knowingly at Han Xiao Xiao. By the way, Ning Yuan, my cousin wants to see you this afternoon. Han Xiaoqiao suddenly remembered the key point. Cousin? What's wrong? Ning Yuan looked at Han Xiaoqiao in confusion. To be honest, he and Han Xiaoqiao's cousin don't have much contact, but Han Xiaoqiao's cousin still has high hopes for Ning Yuan. Not only did he successfully get rid of Xiao Ran, but Ning Yuan was also indeed a potential stock. This afternoon, my cousin is going to bring Wu Fei with her to discuss public opinion with you. Wu Fei. Public opinion. Ning Yuan was a little confused. Wu Fei is a newcomer, but she is the hottest newcomer, and Ning Yuan is also well known. After all, this is the person who has been given such corny titles as the nation's first love and the nation's girlfriend. She debuted as a child star and just graduated from college this year. However, she played the leading role in a movie right after graduation, and reaped a box office revenue of over 800 million yuan. She has outstanding results and extraordinary potential. But from becoming famous to now, Wu Fei has never been involved in any scandals, and no one dares to spread rumors about her. Because her father is the boss of Guangying Entertainment. But now, Han Yu actually wants Ning Yuan and Wu Fei to hype it up. This is Wu Fei's first time. Although he is very popular now, isn't he a bit too fast to start creating public opinion at this time? Right. Han Xiaoqiao sighed and said, she wants Wu Fei and you to create public opinion. If you have something to do, I can help you decline it. Seeing Ning Yuan in a daze, Han Xiaoqiao couldn't help but ask. Ning Yuan finally came to his senses and waved his hand. No, nothing's wrong. And you? Ning Yuan took a deep breath and was about to speak when suddenly, the system's voice rang in his mind. Chapter 20, Angry Lowly Han Xiaoqiao. Ding, start the God level selection system. Option 1, agree to create public opinion and reward a private luxury yacht. Option 2, reject the shortcut of public opinion, choose to slowly become famous through your own strength, and be rewarded with a set of high-end music equipment. Option 3, make a request, refuse to create public opinion for no reason, and reward Han Xiaoqiao for her full-strength attack. Ning Yuan swallowed deeply. This is too exciting. Ning Yuan took a deep breath. For this kind of life-threatening questions, Ning Yuan always chooses one in seconds. As for the second option, although it sounds pragmatic, Ning Yuan witnessed the rise to fame of countless stars. It's not impossible to prove yourself with your own strength, but this is not that era anymore. Forget about proving yourself, it's almost like being buried. Since it was a battle anyway, Ning Yuan naturally would not consider this middle option. As for the last one, Ning Yuan felt himself trembling when he thought about it. Stimulate Han Xiaoqiao. Isn't that seeking death? Although he now has intermediate fighting skills, with Han Xiaoqiao's skills, this is probably not enough for her to defeat. The most important thing is that Ning Yuan has no reason to refuse. Okay, there shouldn't be anything to do in the afternoon, so let's go together then. Ning Yuan smiled at Han Xiaoqiao. Han Xiaoqiao had a stern look on her face just now, but when she saw Ning Yuan smile, she immediately lowered her head shyly. Okay, I'll call my cousin later. After saying this, Han Xiaoqiao stood up, collected all the empty plates on the table and took them to the kitchen. Standing in front of the kitchen sink, Han Xiaoqiao stretched out her little hands and gently patted her red face. Damn it, I just had a meal with this guy, why is your face so red? Han Xiaoqiao pinched her face hard, and the blush on her face subsided a lot. Just as I was about to wash the dishes, a very pleasant voice sounded beside my ears. What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Why are you pinching yourself? Listening to Ning Yuan's familiar voice, which was very close to her ears, Han Xiaoqiao only felt a stream of hot air blowing towards her ears. Soon, Han Xiaoqiao's little face, which had calmed down with great effort, turned red again. You? When Han Xiaoqiao turned around, she met Ning Yuan's face. After a while, bursts of screams were heard from the kitchen. Why? Dad. Tap. R. I was wrong. I was wrong. After about 3 minutes, Ning Yuan rubbed his red forehead and staggered out of the kitchen. Too domineering. Ning Yuan murmured in dissatisfaction. Suddenly, a murderous voice came from behind Ning Yuan. Am I overbearing? As these words came out, a chill flashed across Han Xiaoqiao's eyes. Although Ning Yuan didn't look back, he was still frightened to the point of shuddering all over. No, no, you are the most gentle, you are the most gentle. Ning Yuan said this as he ran towards the bedroom. Looking at him running away, Han Xiao curled her lips. Really? How can I be that scary? I'm actually very cute, okay. After saying that, Han Xiao looked in the mirror, patted her cute face gently, then put on gloves and started washing the dishes. While Han Xiao was washing the dishes, Ning Yuan took out his cell phone and wanted to call Zhao Dazhuang and Lin Xin first. But after clicking for a long time, there was no response at all. What a crappy phone. It broke just a few days after I bought it. What a loser. Ning Yuan was complaining when his pants made a crackling sound at a very inopportune time. Ning Yuan's face was immediately filled with black lines. Brother Pants, why did you break down now, instead of earlier? Ning Yuan looked carefully at the damaged part of his pants and found that there was actually a small man-made hole. This kind of cut will completely break with just a little force. There is no one else except Zhao Dazhuang who can do such a thoughtful thing. Ning Yuan was so angry that he gritted his teeth and was about to curse. Then I remembered that there was a grumpy loli outside the house, Han Xiao. Ning Yuan took a deep breath, quickly took off his pants, looked around the room for needle and thread, and started mending them himself. If you replace any other man, he might not be able to sew, but Ning Yuan is quite familiar with it. He sewed up all the holes in the pants in just a few seconds and turned them over. Yeah, not bad, pretty good. Looking at the flawless pants, Ning Yuan quickly put the sewing box back to its place and then came back to prepare to put on the pants. Han Xiao finished washing the dishes outside the house and quickly called her cousin. Hello? Xiao. The voice on the other end of the phone sounded a little lazy, as if he hadn't woken up yet. Cousin, don't you see what time it is? Why don't you get up yet? Hey, you little girl, are you meddling in your cousin's affairs? Tell me, what's going on? In fact, Han Yu had spent the entire night yesterday sorting out the bad news about Xiao Ran and collecting evidence. I just talked to Ning Yuan, and he agreed to meet you this afternoon. Upon hearing this, Han Yu sat up from the bed. Okay, then wait for me. Oh right. Xiao. Let's meet at the Xingbak Cafe this afternoon. Beep beep. Well. Han Xiao looked at the hung-up phone, speechless. My cousin was really impatient. She hung up the phone before she could even finish her words. Han Xiao wiped her hands, put away her phone and prepared to go back into their house to change into some cute clothes. As soon as I opened the door, I ran into Ning Yuan who was changing his pants. Han Xiao's face suddenly turned red all the way to her neck. Hey! Why did you take off your pants again? Ning Yuan didn't know how to explain for a moment, and his face turned red. Hey, I said my pants were broken, do you believe me? Ning Yuan secretly raised his head and glanced at Han Xiao. Although Han Xiao had her eyes closed, her blushing face still looked very cute. I believe. Ning Yuan was just about to breathe a sigh of relief after hearing Han Xiao's words when Han Xiao's pink fist hit him in front of him. I don't trust you. Chapter 22, Try to do it early. No, don't hit my face, it hurts. After a beating, Han Xiao clapped her hands in satisfaction and began to carefully choose clothes for the afternoon in the closet. By the way, Ning Yuan, I have already made an appointment with my cousin this afternoon. Let's go to the Xingbak coffee shop that we often go to. Remember to dress nicely. Ning Yuan rubbed his still aching chin and murmured. How can you still be handsome after being beaten like this? As soon as he finished speaking, a delicate little face came in front of Ning Yuan. Oh? How about I help you? Ning Yuan quickly waved his hand, put on his pants and ran downstairs to get his clothes, leaving Han Xiao alone at home to try on clothes one by one. More than an hour later, the sound of car traffic was heard again downstairs of Han Xiao's building. Ning Yuan ran back quickly. How about this one? After saying that, Ning Yuan turned around a few times in front of Han Xiao. Han Xiao looked at Ning Yuan with a somewhat dazed look in her eyes. Ning Yuan is already very handsome, and when he dresses up, he becomes even more stunningly handsome. It's really pretty. Han Xiao nodded with satisfaction. Ning Yuan then stopped and looked at Han Xiao. She usually wears school uniform, but today she was wearing a pure white dress. The hem of the skirt fluttered slowly in the wind. Although Han Xiao stood there motionless, she still gave people a sense of beauty, as if a fairy had descended from heaven. Ning Yuan looked at it and couldn't help swallowing, then quickly shook his head. No, no, how could I have such thoughts about my brother? Ning Yuan pinched his face hard to calm himself down. Han Xiaoqiao saw this scene, but she changed from her usual irritability and instead lowered her head with a girlish blush on her cheeks. When are we leaving? Ning Yuan's words broke the awkwardness in the room. Han Xiaoqiao looked up at the clock in the room. It's still early. My cousin just called me and told us to go to the cafe at 2:30 p.m. Ning Yuan nodded, turned around, closed the door, walked into their house, and sat down at the dining table. He had never had time before, but this time, Ning Yuan finally had the chance to sit down and look at Han Xiaoqiao's home. The house is not very big, but it is kept clean and there are dolls everywhere, giving it a girlish style of decoration. Ning Yuan also found it hard to believe that Han Xiaoqiao, who lived in such a cute house, had such high fighting power. Ning Yuan, do I look good in this outfit today? Han Xiaoqiao raised her head and looked at Ning Yuan with flickering eyes. Ning Yuan just took a look and quickly turned his head away. Good, it looks good. Ning Yuan was afraid that if he looked at it too much, he would end up like what happened just now. Time passed quickly. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Ning Yuan stood up and looked at his mobile phone. Come on, Xiaoqiao, it's time for us to set off. Han Xiaoqiao opened the door and walked out of the room. Looking at Han Xiaoqiao's shining eyes and the innocent earrings, Ning Yuan couldn't help swallowing. This time, Han Xiaoqiao did not act like a manatee like before, but instead smiled. Let's go. Ning Yuan opened the door first, then walked downstairs with Han Xiaoqiao. But as soon as I went downstairs, I found that there was a large group of people surrounding where I parked my car. Ning Yuan, what happened to your car? Han Xiaoqiao had just been putting on makeup in the house and hadn't really paid attention to what was happening outside. Ning Yuan frowned and glanced at Han Xiaoqiao. I'll go over and take a look first. After saying that, he was the first to squeeze into the crowd. Make way, make way. Ning Yuan also took a lot of effort to squeeze to the front of the car, but the two aunts standing at the front would not let him go. If you want to see the car, come earlier next time. That's right, why do we have to cut in line? After hearing what the aunt said, Ning Yuan felt relieved. It turns out that such a large group of people gathered here just to watch the beauty of the Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Auntie, this car, actually Ning Yuan was just about to explain when the old man next to him became unhappy. What do you mean? You still want to say that this car is yours? Kid, wake up. You have to work hard every day so that you can buy a car of your own soon. Look at my son. Although he is not a rich man, he bought a car with his own ability. After saying that, the old man looked at Ning Yuan with pride. Ning Yuan was speechless for a moment. What happened to these uncles and aunts? When Ning Yuan took out his cell phone, he realized that it was now 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was just when this group of old men and women came out for a walk after dinner. Click. Suddenly, the sound of two beautiful women taking pictures came from the side of the car. The two were posing in front of the luxury car, not caring at all about the people around them. Ning Yuan looked at the time and saw that it was almost time for the appointment, so he reluctantly squeezed forward. Unexpectedly, the two middle-aged women standing in the front row blocked Ning Yuan. Young man, I see you are not very old. Do you want to squeeze to the front row just to take some pictures, show off your wealth, and trick some girls? I'm telling you, no. You should go back to work. You are still young, don't waste your best time. Ning Yuan's heart suddenly felt like 1,000 horses galloping through it. What happened to these uncles and aunts? If you don't hurry over now, you will really be wasting time. Ning Yuan took out the car keys from his pocket. Didi. The headlights of the Rolls-Royce Cullinan flashed twice. Ning Yuan looked at the two aunts in front of him politely. Can I come over now? The two aunties were so confused that they couldn't say anything for a moment and could only make way with grim faces. Looking at the old man who had just shown off his son's car purchase, he had already blended into the crowd and disappeared. Watching everyone leave, Ning Yuan finally breathed a sigh of relief and quickly walked towards the car. But as soon as he reached the car, the two beauties who had just taken photos came over immediately. Handsome boy, can we leave a phone number? That's right. Little brother, it's so hot today. I feel a little dizzy. Can I get in the car and use the air conditioning? As she spoke, a girl held her head and began to sway in place. Ning Yuan just took a look and prepared to get in the car alone. Ning Yuan really had no interest in such girls. Hey, handsome boy. Just as the two were about to speak, a graceful girl came over. Chapter 23. Hey, my name is Wu Fei. Seeing Han Xiaoqiao coming over, the two girls quickly stepped forward and tried to block Han Xiaoqiao. Hey, can't there be at least a first come first served? That's right. If you can get on this car today, I will crawl out of this neighborhood standing upside down. After saying that, he deliberately rolled his eyes at Han Xiaoqiao. Xiaoqiao, get in the car. Just as the two were speaking sharply to Han Xiaoqiao, Ning Yuan directly opened the passenger door. Han Xiaoqiao stepped into the car amidst the two people's surprised eyes, and then leaned lightly on the passenger seat back. There was no need to adjust the backrest, everything was just perfect. It is obvious at first glance that Han Xiaoqiao must ride in this car often. Otherwise, it would never be so suitable. You? Han Xiaoqiao didn't seem to be very interested in what the girl had just said. She never took pheasants like this seriously. Ning Yuan's head suddenly moved towards the car window. Hello. When the girl heard Ning Yuan's voice, she immediately became interested. What's wrong, handsome boy? The girl wiped away the gloom from her expression and put on a smiling face. This road is the shortest. If you climb out upside down, it will be easier to take this way. You? When the girl heard Ning Yuan's words, she was so angry that she was speechless for a moment. But because she was unwilling to give in to Ning Yuan, the girl gritted her teeth and actually did a handstand. I'm leaving. I won't see you off. Ning Yuan stepped on the accelerator and drove out of the community. Han Xiaoqiao looked back at the rearview mirror and saw that the girl was slowly crawling towards the door with the help of her companions. Puff. Looking at this scene, Han Xiaoqiao finally couldn't help but laughed. If you ask me, Xiaoqiao, you are just too easy to bully. They both said that to you, but you didn't even say a word in response. Han Xiaoqiao, however, sat aside lightly. What's the big deal? I don't want to bother with them. Ning Yuan was a little unhappy when he heard that. How can this be possible? Han Xiaoqiao looked at Ning Yuan's reaction and blinked. But I still want to thank you for just now. It is not difficult to hear from Han Xiaoqiao's tone that she is still very happy. What are you thanking me for? We are brothers. Ning Yuan answered casually. But when Han Xiaoqiao heard these words, a hint of sadness flashed in her eyes. Brother. Are they really just brothers? But Ning Yuan, who was concentrating on driving, didn't notice all this. After a while, the car arrived at the entrance of Xingbak coffee shop. Ning Yuan had learned his lesson from last time and refused to let Han Xiaoqiao go downstairs to find a parking space no matter what. Instead, he pulled Han Xiaoqiao along to look for a parking space. After parking the car, they both opened the door and walked into the cafe. Along the way, many people cast envious glances at Ning Yuan and Han Xiaoqiao. Oh my god, did you see it? Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Yeah. Look, I'm so young. I wonder if I still have a chance. You? Forget it. Didn't you see the beauty next to her? She's wearing something so pure. TSK, it's over, I guess there's no hope for me. Many women looked at Han Xiaoqiao with envy and jealousy, but there was no hatred in their eyes. They are very self-aware of such opponents and they don't deserve to be hated. Xiaoqiao, we arrived a little early, do you want to eat anything? Ning Yuan looked at his mobile phone. It could only show the time. It would freeze if he clicked anywhere else. Han Xiaoqiao wanted to refuse, but her stomach growled. Ning Yuan laughed out loud when he heard this. Come on, Xiaoqiao. I'll treat you. If your cousin hasn't arrived yet, we can have a meal together first. Han Xiaoqiao nodded and followed Ning Yuan into Xingbak. Xingbak's consumption is not mass market, but a bit petty bourgeois. Has your cousin arrived yet? As soon as he walked into the coffee shop, Ning Yuan glanced at Han Xiaoqiao. Han Xiaoqiao was also looking around, and suddenly, she saw a familiar figure near a corner. Cousin. Han Xiaoqiao waved to her cousin. Han Yu was originally sitting and talking to the woman opposite, but when she saw Han Xiaoqiao's hand, she quickly stood up and responded. Let's go. I originally wanted to try the flavor of this apricot bake cake first, but it looks like I won't be able to eat it this time. Ning Yuan followed Han Xiaoqiao towards his cousin's table. Han Yu was saying something in the ear of the woman opposite her. After hearing this, the woman covered her mouth, seeming very surprised. Immediately afterwards, the woman stood up, turned around and faced Ning Yuan and the other man. The moment the woman stood up, Ning Yuan and Han Xiaoqiao were both stunned. It is not an exaggeration to describe this woman as stunningly beautiful. The woman was wearing tight sportswear, black sunglasses and a baseball cap. She does have a bit of the cool and elegant queen vibe. Ning Yuan walked up to the woman and stared at her blankly. Seeing this scene, Han Xiaoqiao pouted unhappily. But when she thought that this woman could help Ning Yuan, Han Xiaoqiao breathed a sigh of relief and comforted herself in her heart. You are Ning Yuan, right? The woman took off her sunglasses, revealing an extremely delicate face. Ning Yuan nodded blankly, then quickly came to his senses. Who are you? Looking at the woman's outstretched hand, Ning Yuan was not in a hurry to shake it. Me. I'm Wu Wufei. Wu Wufei smiled at Ning Yuan, and that smile made people feel their blood boiling. Hello, hello. This time, Ning Yuan stretched out his hand and shook hands with Wu Wufei. By the way, stop standing and sit down. As soon as Han Yu opened her mouth, everyone started to take their seats. Actually, the reason I asked you to come here today is because of what happened to Xiao Ran a few days ago. Hearing Xiao Ran, Ning Yuan immediately put aside his joking expression and replaced it with a serious expression. Xiao Ran is now on the decline, but the previous public opinion is not enough to prevent him from turning over, so we have to add a little more weight to the public opinion this time. After Han Yu finished speaking, she glanced at Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan was listening seriously. Han Yu continued speaking again. After last night, I also found some information about Xiao Ran. You can take a look at it. After speaking, Han Yu distributed a stack of information to several people. Ning Yuan, you are on the rise now, so I plan to let you take advantage of this opportunity and rush forward. I wonder if you. Han Yu wanted to say it at the last party, but was stopped by Han Xiaoqiao, so she didn't say it. Actually Ning Yuan was about to speak when a noise came from a distance. Chapter 24 Crazy Male Fan. Wu Wufei. I love you. Wu Wufei. A man who looked to be in his 30s rushed towards them. Han Xiaoqiao reacted incredibly quickly and pulled her cousin who was closest to her up. But Wu Wufei was so far away from her, and the man was rushing so fast that even Han Xiaoqiao couldn't react for a while. Wu Wufei had closed her eyes tightly, prepared for the worst. However, after a while, the man did not pounce on her. Wu Wufei tried to open her eyes slightly. But the next second, the scene before her startled her. The man who had gone crazy just now was now being held down by Ning Yuan. This reaction speed is fast enough. Wu Wufei blinked, took a deep breath, and quickly calmed down. But when she saw the man's appearance clearly, she was still very angry. How did you get here? From their voice, you can tell that Wu Wufei should know this man. Sister Wufei, do you know him? Ning Yuan called Wu Wufei Sister Wufei. Wu Wufei raised her eyebrows when she heard it, and was very satisfied. At least, it was just the first time they met. If Ning Yuan was like other young handsome guys, calling her sister Fei or something corny like that, Wu Wufei would really not like it. In addition, this time, Ning Yuan really helped her a lot. Ning Yuan didn't know that the man he caught at the moment was a crazy male fan of Wu Wufei. Not only does he have average looks, but he even sold his house in order to chase his idol. From time to time, he would follow Wu Wufei when she wasn't paying attention, and would nag her every day to marry him. Wu Wufei had called the police before, but she never had the chance to catch him on the spot. I don't know him, so I'd better call the police. Catching him this time can also help Wu Wufei solve a big problem. Ning Yuan nodded and took out his cell phone from his pocket. Just as he was about to unlock it, the man under him suddenly exerted force, pulled it out from under Ning Yuan, and started to run away. At this moment, many shop assistants in the store had come over, but due to the man's crazy posture, few people dared to stop him. Just when Han Xiaoqiao was about to make a move, Ning Yuan rushed forward. Grabbing the back of the man's neck with his left hand, Ning Yuan turned around quickly and exerted force with his waist. With a loud bang, the man's body was thrown back by Ning Yuan. Still want to run? Ning Yuan looked at the man in front of him with interest and sneered. You? Are you Feifei's boyfriend? I'll beat you to death. Just as the man was about to raise his hand to hit Ning Yuan, his arm was suddenly stepped hard on the ground by a girl with a bang. You are a hooligan yourself, and you are throwing dirty water on others. The man was kicked and screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Ning Yuan looked down and saw that the man's hand was just stepped on a step by Hen Xiaoqiao. Based on his understanding of Hen Xiaoqiao, he knew that the man's hand would be swollen for several days if not broken after this kick. Humph, you insist on being a hero even though you can't even react. Hen Xiaoqiao turned her head away proudly, deliberately avoiding looking at Ning Yuan. I would rather look at Hen Xiaoqiao being shy, which is kind of cute. Han Yu, who was standing by, quickly said, Fei, how are you? Are you okay? Wu Fei smiled at Han Yu, indicating that nothing was wrong. Let's call the police. Wu Fei glanced at Ning Yuan, but Ning Yuan had a bitter smile on his face. Ning Yuan didn't know how to explain it at the moment, so he had to take out his mobile phone and show it. Wu Fei took a look and realized that Ning Yuan's phone was broken. More and more people gathered in the store, and from time to time someone would take out their cell phones to record the video. Hey, look! Isn't this the star? Yes. I just heard this man say her name is Wu Fei. Yes. It's her? She's very famous. That brave boy is so handsome. I remember he was very popular recently. I think his name was Ning Yuan. Oh my god. It's really them. After a while, the police came and took the man away, leaving Ning Yuan and the other three standing there. Although the matter had been resolved, the onlookers did not seem to have any intention of leaving. Ning Yuan stood up and stretched his arms. Wu Fei came over gently and helped Ning Yuan tidy up his clothes carefully. Wow! They are simply a perfect couple. Look! What a sweet couple! That's right! Did we see some secret? The crowd around began to whisper. Ning Yuan looked at Wu Fei. Wu Fei did not dodge but returned to her seat. Before sitting down, he deliberately gestured towards Ning Yuan. Seeing this, Ning Yuan understood what Wu Fei meant. He turned back to his seat and started drinking coffee again. At this time, the waiters in the store began to come out to maintain order. Okay, everyone please return to your seats. Orders are back to normal at the front desk. Customers who wish to order please go to the front desk to place your order. After listening to the waiter's words, the onlookers returned to their seats. However, this video was uploaded to the internet by many people. Not only are there many people hyping up the CP of Ning Yuan and Wu Fei. At the same time, Ning Yuan's heroic rescue of the beauty incident officially began to ferment. Before they left Xingbak, their phones were already filled with hot news about Ning Yuan and Wu Fei. Look, thanks to your fame, this matter has become popular again. Wu Fei looked at Ning Yuan with a smile. Ning Yuan looked at Hen Xiaoqiao beside him a little embarrassedly. Hen Xiaoqiao was sitting aside with a pout on her lips. In fact, Hen Xiaoqiao was very reluctant in her heart, but thinking of Ning Yuan's career, Hen Xiaoqiao swallowed her anger and said nothing. Ning Yuan, no matter what, I have to thank you for what I just did. Wu Fei raised her coffee cup. Ning Yuan actually felt a little embarrassed after being praised like that. It's nothing, but that fan just now was pretty crazy. When Ning Yuan thought of the man just now, he felt a little scared. In fact, as an artist, sometimes you will encounter male fans like that. There is nothing you can do about it. Ning Yuan was a little surprised. He heard a hint of helplessness in Wu Fei's words. Okay, let's get down to business. Han Yu looked at the two of them and brought the topic back. Wu Fei is truly a professional star. As soon as she heard about work, she immediately adjusted her state. The reason why I called you all here today is because of Ning Yuan's popularity recently. Han Yu glanced at Ning Yuan and gently patted the back of Ning Yuan's hand. Ning Yuan, you are currently in the spotlight of public opinion. You have also seen today that a single action of yours can make you a hot topic. Chapter 25 Ning Yuan will never compensate. To be honest, Ning Yuan did not expect such good feedback. So, now I have also tailored a PR plan for you. If you are interested, you can do as I say. After saying that, Han Yu looked at Ning Yuan expectantly. Ning Yuan began to think. If I refuse, with my current popularity, it will take some time for me to catch up. However, if Han Yu is agreed, Ning Yuan and Wu Fei will share the resources. And both of them will gain higher popularity. Ning Yuan raised his head, looked at Han Yu, nodded and said, okay. Han Yu finally felt relieved after hearing Ning Yuan's answer. Okay, let's make it a deal. From today on, I will help you hype the internet, but you must not respond. Just acquiesce. Ning Yuan still doesn't quite understand the routines of the entertainment industry, but he believes that as time goes by, he will be familiar with these things in the entertainment industry. By the way, I just saw that your cell phone is broken. Do you have time later? I will buy you a new one. Wu Fei asked. Ning Yuan was about to refuse when the system's voice sounded in his mind again. Ding, congratulations to their host for opening the God-level selection system. Option 1, cruelly reject Wu Fei's invitation. Reward, the goddess's indifference and reduced favorability. Option 2, agree to Wu Fei's request. The reward is an Apple latest model phone. Option 3, reject Wu Fei's gift, and invite Wu Fei to go shopping, and reward her with a 24-hour consumption crit cashback coupon. Hearing the system's easy-to-use options, Ning Yuan decisively chose the easiest one. I choose 3. Ning Yuan answered in his mind. Ding, congratulations to their host for receiving a 24-hour consumption critical hit cashback coupon. Please note that all rewards will be credited to your account within 1 to 3 minutes, and all credited amounts will be received through regular investment market returns. Ning Yuan felt very happy after listening to the system's explanation. After all, once the accounts are processed in the system, there will be no unclear situations. Especially for artists, it will be very troublesome if they cannot explain their income clearly. No need for that. Ning Yuan looked up at Wu Fei and said. Sure enough, just as the system said, if she was rejected, she would definitely be angry. You obviously helped me today, so I should buy you something. After Ning Yuan finished speaking, he showed a sunny smile. Wu Fei was already a little furious, but after hearing the second half of the sentence, the anger in her heart disappeared completely. In fact, Wu Fei actually admired him even more in her heart. Xiao Xiao, will you come with us this afternoon? Han Xiao Xiao was about to leave with a disappointed look on her face, but was pulled back by her cousin Han Yu. Han Xiao Xiao looked at Han Yu in confusion. However, Han Yu ignored Han Xiao Xiao's attitude and made the decision for Han Xiao Xiao with a wave of her hand. Okay, that's settled. Let's go shopping later. Han Xiao Xiao was a little stunned for a moment. How come it was decided? I haven't said anything yet, okay? And I don't want to go at all. What Han Xiao Xiao was most worried about was seeing Ning Yuan and Wu Fei being intimate in front of her. Although the two are hyping up their relationship, it is normal for them to be together and create public opinion. However, when she thought about the affectionate relationship between the two, Han Xiao Xiao felt uncomfortable all over and couldn't help but clench her fists tightly. When will this damn Ning Yuan finally understand? Han Xiao Xiao was so angry that she kept pulling her fingers. Let's go, let's go. Seeing that everyone's cups were almost empty, Han Yu quickly stood up and signaled everyone. The four of them got into Ning Yuan's Rolls Royce, and Wu Fei looked at Ning Yuan in surprise. The car drove very smoothly towards the shopping mall. After more than 20 minutes, the car stopped at the entrance of No. 1 International Shopping Mall. This mall is considered to be a relatively high-end mall here. There are all kinds of big brands. If it were in the past, Ning Yuan would never buy anything here. To be precise, in the past, Ning Yuan would never have been able to enter such a shopping mall. Xiao Xiao, can you accompany me to look at the clothes over there? As soon as they entered the mall, Han Xiao Xiao was dragged by Han Yu to look at new clothes. Hello, cousin, Han Xiao Xiao actually still wants to be with Ning Yuan. At least, if the two of them did anything, it would still be visible. Let's go, let's go. Seeing that Han Xiao Xiao was unwilling to move, Han Yu forcibly dragged Han Xiao Xiao into a clothing store nearby. Only Ning Yuan and Wu Fei were left walking around in the mall. What do you want to buy? Before Ning Yuan opened his mouth, Wu Fei spoke first. Let us buy a cell phone first. Ning Yuan was too eager to look around, but he didn't see any store selling mobile phones. I don't think they sell mobile phones here. Ning Yuan looked at Wu Fei. Wu Fei stretched out her hand and pointed in a direction on the second floor. Most electronic products are over there. Let me take you there. Ning Yuan nodded and followed. Wu Fei was very straightforward and turned her head to glance at Ning Yuan. You didn't seem to come here often before. Wu Fei asked with a smile. Ning Yuan nodded honestly. My financial situation wasn't very good before, so I never came here. It's still the same now. After hearing this, Wu Fei just wanted to roll her eyes. A person who drives a Rolls-Royce Cullinan actually complains that he is poor. Could it be that he has some misunderstanding about the word poor? But Wu Fei had no idea that the property fees for Ning Yuan's current residence alone were nearly 200,000 yuan a year. This does not include daily living expenses. With such a life, Ning Yuan now has only about 1 million in his hands. If I really use this to spend, it really isn't enough. The store in front sells mobile phones. Let's go over and take a look. Ning Yuan followed Wu Fei into the mobile phone store. As soon as you enter the store, you will see a wide variety of mobile phones. Hello sir, what kind of mobile phone do you need? As soon as I entered the store, the saleswoman came up to me immediately. Ning Yuan was stunned at first, but still looked at the mobile phone on the counter. Apple's highest-end model is quietly placed on the top of the counter. How much is this phone? Ning Yuan pointed to the one on the counter. Hello, sir. This phone costs 15,000 yuan. The salesperson looked Ning Yuan up and down. Generally, people who buy this kind of mobile phones are relatively wealthy, and there are very few people who dress in a rustic manner. Although the clothes Ning Yuan wore were not very luxurious, they were at least not bad. But when the clerk looked at Ning Yuan, he didn't think he looked like a rich man. Instead, he looks more like a boy who is here to show off his wealth and pick up girls. Chapter 26. If you want to pick up girls, you have to spend money. The salesperson looked at Wu Fei on the side and became more certain of his opinion. That is, Ning Yuan didn't come here to buy a mobile phone at all. When it's time to pay, he will definitely find a reason and leave without spending any money. She had seen many people who used this method to trick young girls. Okay, give me 4. Ning Yuan knew in his heart that Wu Fei's cell phone was new after all, and Han Xiao's cousin would not accept it. It's better to have one each for my good brothers in college. 4. The sales lady couldn't believe her ears. Sir, you want 4. This phone is not cheap, 4 of them cost 60,000 yuan. If I didn't meet a scammer today, then I met a real rich man. People who come to buy mobile phones on weekdays basically bargain and ask for benefits. Today I met a rich man who didn't want anything and just wanted to buy 4 machines. Coincidentally, there was another couple in the mobile phone store. Ning Yuan took his bank card to the cashier to pay, and soon, the system's voice rang in his mind. Ding, congratulations to the host, you have doubled your money successfully. You will be rewarded with a 4-fold rebate, a total of 240,000, which will arrive in your bank card within 3 minutes. Listening to the voice of the system, Ning Yuan was a little surprised. I didn't expect this system to be so user-friendly. Ding, card swiping successful. After hearing their voice, the salesperson suddenly felt that he was a bit too rash to have such an opinion of a rich man. Sir, please wait a moment. I'll get your phone for you. Ning Yuan was not in a hurry, he just smiled and nodded. Just as Ning Yuan was waiting, the girl from the store just now came up to Ning Yuan immediately. Hello, handsome guy. Ning Yuan responded with a smile, hello, what's the matter? A blush immediately appeared on the girl's face. Handsome guy, do you have a girlfriend? Ning Yuan didn't say anything, but just glanced at Wu Fei in the distance. The girls also looked in Wu Fei's direction. After reading it, the girl immediately bit her lips tightly. Wu Fei is not only a famous star, but also very talented. Not only is she 1.8 meters tall, but she also weighs only 90 kilograms, which gives her a standard long legs. The girl clenched her fists tightly and turned to look at Ning Yuan. Handsome guy, you wouldn't mind having another girlfriend, right? After the girl finished speaking, Ning Yuan was suddenly speechless with surprise. The girl was about to say something when she was suddenly grabbed from behind and taken out of the store. Looking at this scene, Ning Yuan couldn't help but burst out laughing. What's wrong with girls nowadays? Wu Fei also saw this scene and strode to Ning Yuan's side. It's really a bit too ostentatious to buy so many mobile phones at once like you did. Just then, the shop assistant came to Ning Yuan with a cell phone in his hand. "Hello sir, this is your phone." Ning Yuan took it, then walked out of the store with Wu Fei in hand. Looking at the two people leaving, the store clerks began to cast jealous eyes towards Wu Fei. "Alas, someone like me probably isn't worthy of a little brother like this," the salesperson muttered to himself. The other colleagues smiled and patted her on the head, urging her to wake up from her dream. Ning Yuan, holding a mobile phone, first changed the SIM card and then went into another store. There are all kinds of watches in the store. Ning Yuan looked up and saw Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe is considered top-notch among watches. When Wu Fei entered, her face was slightly stunned, and then she quickly lowered her head and pretended to look at her watch. Ning Yuan followed in and naturally noticed this scene. "What's wrong, Sister Fei?" Ning Yuan asked puzzledly. Wu Fei still kept her head down and said nothing. Just when Ning Yuan was about to ask another question, the man in the distance put down what he was holding and walked towards Wu Fei. "Fei?" The man called Wu Fei's name. Wu Fei took a deep breath and then turned to look at the man. "Mr. Zhao, long time no see." The man called Mr. Zhao is called Zhao Feng. He is the owner of a small real estate company and has tens of millions of dollars in his hands. Zhao Feng suddenly noticed Ning Yuan beside Wu Fei, and then looked Ning Yuan up and down. "Fei, I asked you to be with me before, but you didn't want to. Look at yourself now. What good can come of being with a poor boy like this?" Hearing this, Ning Yuan immediately frowned. Wu Fei immediately looked at Zhao Feng with a look of silent mourning. Ning Yuan was the one driving a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. "Do you dare to say that such a person has no money? You said last time that you liked that watch. As long as you promise me, I will buy it for you now." Zhao Feng stood in front of Wu Fei with a beer belly. Before Wu Fei could speak, Ning Yuan spoke first. "Sister Fei, which watch do you like? I'll give it to you." Hearing this, Zhao Feng was a little unhappy. "Isn't this a slap in the face? Young man, don't be so full of yourself." In fact, Ning Yuan had just taken a quick look at the price range in the store, and basically everything on the counter was under 1 million. After the rebate just now, Ning Yuan now has nearly 1.2 million in his hands. Now, Ning Yuan has only one thing to do. That's doubling. The more the better. Therefore, a Patek Philippe watch is actually difficult to satisfy Ning Yuan's appetite. "Which one do you like?" Ning Yuan turned his head to look at Wu Fei, but Wu Fei waved her hand, signaling Ning Yuan not to ask any more questions. But how could Zhao Feng, who was standing by, let go of such a good opportunity? Zhao Feng pointed to a watch on the counter. "This is it. 1,180,000. Buy it." Ning Yuan looked at the watch on the counter. 1,180,000, almost 1,200,000, just enough to buy it. Ning Yuan began to calculate. If he bought a watch and the price tripled or quadrupled, then if he bought another one, wouldn't he make more money? Just as Ning Yuan was in a daze, Zhao Feng on the side couldn't bear it anymore. "Kid, don't waste time here. If you can afford it, buy it. If you can't afford it, don't try to be a hero here." Zhao Feng spoke very loudly, deliberately letting everyone else hear. For a moment, the attention of many people in the store was attracted. Ning Yuan looked at the clerk and threw a bank card directly on the counter. "Hello, please help me wrap this up." Seeing this action, Zhao Feng snorted coldly. "Boy, don't pretend to be good for nothing. I'm telling you, your behavior now will be exchanged for real money." Chapter 27. What will happen if I don't spend money? After Zhao Feng finished speaking, he deliberately snorted coldly at Ning Yuan. This scene was naturally seen by many spectators around. However, Ning Yuan stood in the distance with a relaxed look on his face and gestured to the salesperson. "Swipe the card." The clerk took the bank card Ning Yuan handed over and swiped it on the card machine. 1,180,000. Zhao Feng was sitting on a stool nearby, ready to watch the show. Ding, consumption successful. Hearing the sound of the card swipe machine, Zhao Feng immediately smiled. "I told you, you can't be that rich and buy a watch worth over 1 million. Just wait." "What?" Zhao Feng couldn't believe his ears. This seemingly ordinary boy in front of him actually bought a watch worth 1.18 million? "Please help me pack it up." Ding, rebate successful, rebate multiple triple to 3.5 for million. Listening to the voice of the system in his mind, Ning Yuan raised a smile. Good. Very nice. This system is so adorable. Hello, sir. This is the watch you wanted. On the side, the salesperson placed the packaged watch in Ning Yuan's hand. Ning Yuan turned around and handed the watch to Wu Fei. For you. Wu Fei stared blankly at the watch in her hand. After a moment, Wu Fei raised her head and smiled gently at Ning Yuan. Then I'll take it. This scene made Zhao Feng extremely angry. Someone actually dared to snatch away the person he liked right in front of him. Zhao Feng stared at the two of them intently. After a while, Zhao Feng finally sighed and said, Wu Fei, don't refuse a toast. What's the point of being with someone like him? Isn't it just that he can buy you a watch worth 1 million? Be with me, I can buy you a watch worth 2 million or 3 million, not to mention 1 million. When Wu Fei heard this, a hint of worry appeared in her eyes. She had some understanding of Zhao Feng's character before. Once he gets angry, he will try every possible means to regain his face. Wu Fei knew that Zhao Feng had a lot of money. Although Ning Yuan looked like a rich man, the two of them had just met after all. Wu Fei would not be able to accept it if Ning Yuan spent too much money. A watch worth 3 million. Ning Yuan became interested when he heard what Zhao Feng said. Before this, Ning Yuan didn't know much about these watches. I thought a watch worth more than 1 million was already very expensive, but I didn't expect that there are watches worth more than 3 million. When he thought of this, the corners of Ning Yuan's mouth rose slightly. 1 million needs to be tripled to become 3 million. 3 million only needs to be doubled to become 6 million. Thinking of this, Ning Yuan's eyes began to search the counter. Seeing that Ning Yuan didn't say anything, Zhao Feng became more confident. Boy, a watch worth 3 million, what can you buy with it? This time, Zhao Feng looked at Ning Yuan proudly. Ning Yuan glanced at Zhao Feng slowly. Hello, are there any watches in the store that cost 3 million? When the clerk heard this, he was stunned. This was the first time she had seen someone buy a watch like this. Yes, show it to him. It's a Blue Lover Series watch, worth 3.3 million. If you have the money, buy it. Zhao Feng looked at Ning Yuan with a smug look on his face, and the people around him also began to pay attention to the developments here. It is extremely rare to see such moments of rich second generations competing for their financial resources. Today, we can see it with our own eyes, and everyone hopes to feast their eyes. The clerk was stunned for a moment, then hurried to the warehouse at the back to get the watch. Watches of this price range are usually not kept on the counter. Ning Yuan looked at the clerk leaving and glanced at Wu Fei behind him with bored eyes. There was a hint of embarrassment on Wu Fei's face. She didn't expect that she would cause so much trouble to Ning Yuan today. Hello, sir. This is our store's Blue Lover series, worth 3,300,000. The clerk placed a watch in front of Ning Yuan. Ning Yuan took the watch and ran his fingers over every detail of the watch. The wristband is handmade, coupled with an exquisite watch body, and the dial has Patek Philippe's hollow design. The whole watch is placed in your hand, showing its charm all the time. Although Ning Yuan didn't know much about watches, he could tell the value of this watch at a glance when he held it in his hand. What? You don't want to buy it? But I think Fei looks really good in it. Zhao Feng, who was standing by, walked up and taunted Ning Yuan. Some people, if they don't have such great strength, shouldn't say such empty words. After saying this, Zhao Feng turned his head and glanced at Wu Fei. Fei, if you like it, I'll buy it for you. There was a hint of a smile on Zhao Feng's face, but this smile gave people the feeling that it was harboring ill intentions. No, I don't like it. After Wu Fei finished speaking, she was about to turn around and leave, but as soon as she took a step, she was pulled back by Zhao Feng. Don't leave in such a hurry. How can you know that such an expensive watch doesn't look good if you don't wear it and take a look at it? After saying that, Zhao Feng handed Wu Fei's hand over. Come on, help her put it on. The clerk was stunned for a moment, then quickly put the watch on Wu Fei's hand. This is a real achievement. Look, I think this watch is especially suitable for you. Zhao Feng looked at Wu Fei with a sly smile. I thought Ning Yuan would open his mouth and make excuses at this time, but he was wrong. Ning Yuan threw his bank card away. Here, swipe the card. Ning Yuan's scene shocked everyone present. It's not enough to buy a watch worth 1 million, and I just bought another one worth 3 million. Ding, card swiping successful. When the card machine made this sound, Zhao Feng's face looked particularly ugly. Zhao Feng could never have imagined that Ning Yuan actually spent more than 3 million to buy a watch for Wu Fei. You? Zhao Feng stared at Ning Yuan intently. I don't know where Ning Yuan came from, but he could take out so much money so easily. I give you this watch, too. Ning Yuan turned around and put the watch in Wu Fei's hand. Wu Fei hesitated for a while, but finally took the watch. Thank you very much. In Zhao Feng's eyes, this scene was like a slap in the face. Do you think you are the only one who has money? Zhao Feng said, gritting his teeth. After hearing this, Ning Yuan looked at Zhao Feng with interest.